stupid scary movie.
We are counselors at Hackett's Quarry Summer Camp. There is a swarm of bears.
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
Glenn! No! Glenn! Help! Somebody help me, please!
That is Frank Stone.
It's showtime.
Hello, and welcome back to another fabulous wonderful episode of the Scream Stream. Now, we're on number 57, and today should be a wonderful episode because we are doing a ranking video. Now, this is something I really don't do too terribly much, but I figure since I kind of played all of these recently over the last, I want to say 2 months, kind of gearing up for the Until Dawn remake, and I was finally able to sit down and do the curator cuts for a lot of these, I figured, what the hell, let's have just like a fun little podcast I could throw in the middle of the month that, something I definitely would love to talk about because these games are phenomenal. I'm a huge fan of Supermassive games, and I kid you not, every single one of these multiple times. I don't know what it is about Supermassive and their choose your own adventure horror games, but I just love them. Maybe it's because as a kid I grew up reading a lot of the Goosebumps books, and there were choose your own adventure Goosebumps books that were quite fun. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead and look that up because they were awesome. Like the way the choose your own adventure books work, where you had like 2 items on you, like a flashlight and a blanket. And you'd be like, you're walking down the hallway and you hear a strange noise to your left. You use the flashlight, turn to page 29. And if you use the blanket, turn to page 72 or something like that. And it was fun. It was fun. It's something that I guess I kept from my childhood. So when Supermassive started making games like this, it really caught my attention. And I definitely want to at least sit down and talk to y'all about my favorites and my least favorite of the bunch. Even though they're all good games. They're all great games. Amazing stories, amazing characters, amazing acting choices, by the way, as well. But I still want to sit down and just kind of pop this little quick video out for you guys because this was definitely a fun time replaying all these, like 100%. I thoroughly enjoyed playing each and every one of these. Now, some of them, like I said, more than others. So the way we're going to break this down is we're going to go by graphics and looks because some of them hold up a little bit better than others, and you would be surprised about which ones actually hold up better than the others. Trophies, depending on whether they're easy, medium, hard, because I've noticed a couple of the games, some of the trophies really easy to knock out. Like you get that in like maybe three playthroughs total. Some of these other ones, they want you to do like 9, and I'm not even over exaggerating here. Like a lot of them want you to do multiple playthroughs, which I don't really have a problem with, but if you're doing a trophy hunt, it's a little aggravating. Of course, characters and stories, because without the characters and the stories, we wouldn't have the video games we are playing, and some of the stories are stronger than others. And the reason why I say is because we all know about Little Hope. Like, I love Little Hope, I do, but we'll get there when we get there. And then, of course, we'll do curator cuts versus theatrical cut for the main Dark Picture games, because unfortunately, the Quarry and Casting Frank Stone don't have anything like that, but we can do that with the Until Dawn remakes. But we'll just have to see how everything plays out. And of course, replayability. Now, this is all based on how much fun I had replaying these games all over again for like a 3rd time or so. So, with that in mind, this is all just a personal ranking, guys. I didn't go on Wikipedia to ask for any help. I didn't, ask my neighbors, hey, what y'all think of this game or that game. This is strictly my personal beliefs of which ones I think are the better ones out of the bunch and which ones are the weaker one of the bunch. Because, again, there are no bad games, just weak ones. So, with that also in mind, spoiler alerts for all the games. I'm going to be honest, I can't hide some of the stuff I want to talk about without a spoiler alert. So if you never played any of the Dark Picture games, you're just curious about my ranking, I have something in the description below, just kind of give you a full overview of what I thought about it. But if you have seen the games, you're just curious about which one's my favorites, let's go ahead and dive on in. Now, the reason why we're using the criteria of the 5 things in mind is because, frankly, it was hard to choose which ones out of the bunch were my favorites. So this is why we have this whole criteria thing. But let's start with number 8. And number 8 actually surprised me because of the fact that I love this story. Like, I love the story of this one, and it was really that kind of game right up my alley. But we had some issues with it, and let's talk about them. So number 8 is Devil in Me. Now, like I said, I love The Devil in Me. The story is phenomenal. You need to kind of recap. That one is the one where you got Charlie, Aaron, Jamie, Kate, and Mark. They are 5, oh God, I wouldn't necessarily say TV personalities, but they work on a TV show. They get invited to a house that's kind of a replica of H.H. Holmes' infamous murder hotel, and they have to survive the night. And that is just like right up my alley. First of all, H.H. Holmes. I love H.H. Holmes. He's one of my favorite, it's going to sound weird, but one of my favorite serial killers to talk about because the man was a genius. Like, I'm not going to lie about that. The man was a genius. The man made an entire murder hotel and got away with it for a lot of years. And he's also one of the most notorious serial killers in all of American history. And so when they said that they were making a game based on that, I got excited. I was just like, hot damn, I get to run from a killer in H.H. Holmes' like murder den. This is fantastic. It's everything I ever wanted in a choose your own adventure horror game. A killer who actively is trying to kill us, not trying to hurt us or to scare us, but is actively trying to kill us. So, let's start with graphics. Graphics for that one, it's a solid 10. Everybody looks great. The exterior of the, I guess the recreation of the H.H. home looks fantastic. The outdoors area, the characters themselves hold up very well. Like, I love the facial models on them. Everybody's got, like, a good vibe to them. It looks great. I give it a solid 10. Now, when it comes to trophies, I say easy. I say it's easy, and the reason why I say easy is because a lot of the trophies boil down to basically killing everybody. Like, they want you to experience every single trap, and a lot of those are tied into some other trophies, such as Mark and Kate's, one of their endings. I think Mark finding pieces of the camera. Oh, excuse me, moi. But Mark finding one of the pieces of the camera, because I think like certain characters have to be dead for him to be able to explore and find the piece of the camera by himself or something like that. So I find the trophies pretty easy. You can probably knock them out, maybe 3.5 playthroughs. You know, do like everyone lives scenario, and everyone dies scenario, and then do one where you're like picking up the little extra odds and ends and stuff like that. It's anything you might have missed. So the trophies are pretty easy. I'm about to say the easies are pretty trophies. That doesn't make any sense. Now, like I said about the characters and the stories, they're phenomenal. Like, I love everybody. Charlie, even though he's a bit of a hard ass, I like him mainly because I felt his suffering when it came to, I need my smokes, give me my smokes, please, you piece of crap. I'll come back with a crowbar. You just wait, buddy. You just wait. I felt that. The man was on a mission, and at the very, very end of the whole game, he finally gets that option to have that cigarette, and he's just like, you know what, man? Nah, I'm good. It's not worth it anymore. It's not worth it. He nearly died in the furnace, so it wasn't worth it to him anymore. And I completely 100% agree with that. But everybody had a good character arc or character development going on. Again, with Charlie, with his whole cigarettes. You know, he started off as a tough, you know, no-nonsense guy, leader of this whole situation. And at the end, he learned to relax a little bit, let other people take control of the situation, and he gave up smoking. Erin, I would say she had a pretty decent character development. You know, she got over some of her fears, especially if you use the asthma inhaler and stuff like that. Jamie, I want to say the only kind of character development she gets is basically her crush on Erin, which I like that, more representation that way. I enjoyed that, but other than that, I don't think she really has too much of a character development. Maybe Nah, I was gonna say maybe being less snarky, but no, her snarkiness is at like a solid 10 throughout the whole game. And Mark learned to become the fantastic choose his own words carefully type of man. And the reason why I say that is because of the fact that if you don't choose the correct dialogue, Kate and him are never going to get together at the end. Even though it seems like it, they're not. Like, you literally have to go against the gut that everything's telling you, hey, let's go with Kate, forget about this conversation, let's not piss her off. No, you want to piss her off in that conversation because then it leads up to a better moment later on in the game. If you don't know what I'm talking about, let me refresh your memory. There's a conversation Mark and Kate in particular have right before they go off on their own to take pictures and before the Charlie eavesdrops conversation. And you have a choice whether or not to just drop the conversation and go with her and tell her she looks beautiful in the sunlight or whatever light they decide, and happiness goes up. But if you go, wait a minute, I want to talk about this, you set up a conversation for later, but you'll notice that the relationship goes down. And it's kind of confusing, but it makes sense. You know, Kate's uncomfortable with talking about it because of the fact that everybody looks at her as the bad guy. And it wasn't her who broke up, it was Mark. Mark made the decision because he didn't know what he wanted to do in his own life. So he made the decision, but unfortunately because of Kate's abrasive attitude, they all blamed Kate. So I can get why she didn't want to talk about it, but Mark had a good character development because not only did he confess his feelings to Kate, explain why he didn't take the job offer that he was so like confused about at the kind of like the middle-ish beginning of the game. I wouldn't necessarily say the beginning of the game, but it's a good like 2 hours into this when we have this conversation. But I like that about all these characters in this particular one. There's some good arcs with all of them. It's a fun game. Like I said, you're running from a serial killer, and you literally have to make tough, stressful decisions. Like I remember first time playing it, and you get to the whole, does Kate die or does Aaron die? I literally paused the game and was just like, oh god, like I don't know what to do. Like, well, who do I choose? So I had to choose my least favorite character at the time, and unfortunately it was Kate because I really like Aaron and Jamie's relationship a lot more. But thank God for that. Otherwise, somebody would have been dead there, and I couldn't live myself if I had accidentally killed Erin. I love her. She's adorable. She's so sweet. But it is so stressful though, because you literally have to make tough decisions in a matter of seconds. Like, do you barricade the door? Do you run? Do you run upstairs? Do you run downstairs? Do you hit the button now? Do you do it later? Like, what do you do? And that's something I love about this game. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. It's great. Now, I know what you're thinking. Amanda, you have been praising this game for a good minute. Why is it number 8? This is where we get to the creator cut versus the theatrical cut and the replayability. So, I am a firm believer when it comes to this game that the curator cut should have been the normal version we got, with the theatrical cut should have been the creator cut. The reason why I say that is, in the theatrical cut, that game is so stressful and it keeps you on your toes and you're running around and doing all this crazy shenanigans and you're in these traps. You feel the fear coming off these people as you're playing them. But in the creator's cut, it takes you out of the action. You're just kind of a standby with some popcorn going, do I hit the button now? Click, click. No, because you run around that corner. Okay, now I hit the button. Click, click, you know. It takes you out of the action, and it wasn't as intensified as saying the theatrical cut. And also, there's really not much added to the curator cut besides these few little extra scenes, which ain't really all that much. It's literally like Charlie eavesdropping on Kate and Mark's conversation at the beginning of the game before dinner, which I like that because you get a choice to chill Charlie out, which makes his speech at the dinner table a little bit more fluent and it makes sense. Then I think you have Aaron stuck in the closet with the killer, and instead of being Aaron being forced to choose, do I take my inhaler or do I stab the man? you have to be Kate and find something to break the door, which is not that difficult. It's literally just like right around the corner, grab the candlestick and just hit the door a couple of times. No big deal. And then you got Jamie and Kate's situation on floor 3 after the hive mind episode. Where, you know, in the theatrical cut, you're playing Jamie, so you gotta run and go find the killer and have him chase you around. And then you gotta pray they don't close that door on you. Or, in the curator's cut, you play as Kate, and you just gotta watch all the incidents unfold, and you decide whether or not you want to hit that button. And it's pretty simple. It's really simple, and I don't really like it all that much. I really don't. I had more fun playing the theatrical cut than I did the curator's cut, and that's saying something because I love the action in the theatrical cut. Like, oh my god, again with the Charlie Furnace thing, I was just like my butthole was so clenched it wasn't even funny. My fucking mind was going crazy during just some of these other moments. And other than those, like, taking you out of the action moments, the creator cut really is kind of brings this down a lot. You know, that's why it feels like number 8. Also, there's something else I noticed about the creator cut that kind of ticks me off to no extent. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a bug, if it was a glitch, if it was just me just not paying attention. What happened? But did y'all know that everybody's surviving at the end of creator cut basically hammers on one factor, just one tiny little factor, something you probably even forgot about halfway through the game. It's Kate's stupid amethyst crystal. I'm not joking. If you never played the creator's cut, go ahead and play the creator's cut. Lose that freaking crystal. Watch what happens. So, in the theatrical cut, you know, of course, you're going back and forth between all the characters trying to save everybody. Well, for some reason, in the creator's cut, instead of going to Mark, who, by the way, I would like to add this little factor. In the creator cut, and in the theatrical cut, when you play as Mark, you have this option to put this little nail on top of a little pole that you could take with you, so you could stab Dumet in the side, or use the pepper spray, depending on what you picked up, if you wound up picking it up anyway near the end before you get to the boat. But the point is, you can use these items to get away from Dumet, so you can eventually kill him and push him off the boat. Alright, I say kill with air quotes, because at the end the man survives somehow. He's magic. I don't know how, but he's magic. But in the theatrical cut, at the end, you're playing Mark, so you have that option to grab it, you know, run the hell off, do what you gotta do. And the creator's cut, it only happens if Kate's got her stupid ass amethyst crystal. Literally, I don't know why. I don't know why this is a thing in this game. It is freaking stupid. The reason why I say that is you don't have it, you hit him on the back with your fist, he turns back, looks at you, and that should have been the window of opportunity for Mark to grab the item that he had on him and stab Dumet. But unfortunately, in the creator's cut, he's stupid, and Dumet ends up killing him if you don't have that amethyst crystal to hit him outside the back of the head. And I find that ridiculous that everybody's life hangs in the balance of whether or not Kate's got her amethyst crystal. And I don't even know when I lost my amethyst crystal, because get this, in theatrical cut, because everything, I'm going to be honest, when it comes to creator cut and theatrical cut, other than those 3 extra scenes I told you about, it all basically plays the same way. All the same way, same pieces of dialogue just about, except instead of playing Kate in one scene, you're playing Jamie in the next one. There's really not much to this creator's cut. But it kind of irks me that even as Mark, you have the option to create these tools, and he doesn't use them. But yeah, he doesn't use them in the creator cut, but in the theatrical cut, he does, because you are controlling that character. Why shouldn't the AI be just as equally as smart in that situation as you are if you were playing it? And I don't get it. I don't get it, and I don't like it. That's just why it's at the bottom of the barrel for me, because it's just the whole factor that everybody's surviving depends on whether or not you have the amethyst crystal. And when I played in my creator cut version, I wound up losing it somehow, which I don't get, because I did the same exact thing. I mean, I kid you not, the same exact thing in theatrical cut, and she kept it. So I don't know if that's a bug or a glitch or what happened there, but yeah, it's on the roof right before you have the choice of whether or not to leave Jamie to die by Dumet or go ahead and save her. And it's the one right before you choose whether to run or hide. Like, it makes you hide. It makes you hide. But in my creator cut and my theatrical cut, as I'm hiding, I bring out the amethyst crystal, because I was like, I'm going to use this bitch as a weapon. And like, if he comes at me, hit him upside the head with this thing. But I did everything right. My keep calms, which I was really happy that I did fantastic on my keep calms. And I survived that. He pulls me out the locker. Of course, I take off running. That is that. But for some reason, in the creator's cut, I just lost it. I dropped it. Got butterfingers all of a sudden. But yeah, in the theatrical cut, nope, she's got like a death grip on that bitch. And I don't get that. I really don't get that. And again, that irks me that everybody's life literally hangs the balance of one tool. And that brings me up to another thing for the replayability. Let's actually go ahead and move on to the replayability. So, with the Devil in Me, I give it a solid 7. The reason why I give it a 7 is because I had fun initially going through it until I got to these added scenes, and then I'm like, alright, you're taking me out of the action. Alright, well, we still have all these fun tools we could play with, because Devil in Me is when they started bringing in the tools, right? Which is a great kind of thing to add, because they really only did that kind of in House of Ashes. But with Devil in Me, it was just kind of pointless in some aspects, you think about it. You know, the only ones that really came in handy occasionally was Kate's and Jamie's. Like, Mark using his stick and whatnot. And the creator cut, sometimes it just didn't work. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, sometimes it didn't work. Like, I would walk up to where I know for a fact I could use the stick, and it just wouldn't work. But yeah, the theatrical cut worked just fine. And I didn't get that. Let's see, I don't think Charlie really had anything except a stupid lighter, which made, I'm gonna be honest, made no difference in lighting, by the way. Like, absolutely no difference in lighting. Like, it was still dark. It was, granted though, there was this one section in Devil in Me where it was so dark. Like, it was in the spa section. Right before you meet up with Kate after Jamie and Mark get separated. And oh my god, it was so dark. I got lost in a tiny ass room for 10 minutes on my live stream when I was doing this. I was like, guys, I don't know where the hell I'm going. I can't see shit. And every other room was fine. The hallway leading up to that room, fine. The hallway after that was fine. That one particular room was just really, really, really dark for no reason. And that actually would have been quite helpful to have Charlie's stupid lighter. Unfortunately, I was playing, I think, Mark, so all he's got is the flash of his camera thing, which is like a Jigsaw knockoff moment, which I don't really mind, but when you're trying to walk down a dark, dingy hallway, an actual light would be helpful, beyond helpful, but no, let's just do like we're in a freaking Jigsaw over here, like we're in the Saw movies or something like that. Ugh, I know, I went on a little bit of tangent about that, but it irks me. It irks me. I love this game so much because the story and the characters. Like, best character I have to say is Kate. Kate, she took my heart away. She is very courageous. She's smart. She's brave. Like I said, very, very courageous because of the fact that she's already dealt with situations like this before. Whether a friend of hers getting killed by another killer, which is probably why she got into journalism to begin with. It was because of that situation. Now, I'm going to be honest, it's kind of hard to choose a least favorite character because I love all these characters. I love each and every one of these characters for everything they brought onto the table. So, I can't really just say I have a least favorite out of the bunch, but I can say I do have a favorite there. But that's basically where I'll leave Devil in Me at, rank number 8. Again, it's a great story, great characters. It's just the creator cut really brings it down, and with some of the issues, like with the lighting and the amethyst crystal, it just bogs it down to the bottom of the barrel for me. So that is why it's number 8. So let's bring this up a little bit. Let's go on to another one that I absolutely love. And mainly it was because of the twist. I didn't see the twist coming. I died laughing. And I still love it till this day. But it is House of Ashes. Now I know it is weird to say. Why is House of Ashes so low on this list? And mainly, it's just because of the replayability and the creator cut, yet again. But let's start off with graphics. I thought the graphics were pretty well. I give it a solid 9 when it comes to graphics. And the reason why I say a 9 instead of a 10 is because I noticed Rachel's model, Ashley Tisdare's character, it looked weird at certain angles. I don't know if she... It's going to sound mean, but it's not me being mean. It's just, I grew up with Ashley Tisdale. I knew what she looked like. So I don't know if this is just how it came across, or if this is what she really kind of looked like, and this is just how it all, played out or something. But her face looked a little round, like chubby almost. Like she had chubby cheeks, and it was only at certain angles I noticed this. Why I said I don't really know if it was a model issue or this is just Ashley Tisdale's face now. But yeah, her face looked a little chubby, and I don't have a problem with chubby face or anything. It looked a little bizarre because at certain angles, you see her face is round, and then other angles she looks normal and fine. So I'm like, I don't really know what to take that. But everybody else looked pretty nice. Very doable, especially you, Eric. I'm sorry, I have a soft spot for Eric. I love Eric. Not my favorite character, though. Funny enough, not my favorite character. With the trophies, I say it's a medium. The reason why I say medium is because you're definitely going to have to replay at least 4 times. Maybe 5, depending on which trophies you're working on, what you already have. And the reason why I say that is because... So there's a couple trophies in there that just, of course, like with Devil in Me, they kind of throw it in. And if you decide to do these trophies, it could change your game 100%. I.e., example. So in my original playthrough with the theatrical cut, I got Merwin killed. I left him to die. He said he wanted to die. No, wait, I'm sorry, I take that back. I accidentally got him killed because I wouldn't let him go while he was struggling to breathe. So Nick killed him by accident. And I played the game normally, everybody was fine. And then I replayed it again for the stream. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to get that Merwin trophy where I keep Merwin alive and let him do the radio and let him get killed there. Well, because of that, Eric basically almost died. He technically did die in my run, but I was just like, oh, hell no, we're going back pretend that didn't happen. And because of that, Rachel and him didn't have a happy relationship. And then on top of that, he ended up calling in air support backup, which caused the security team to show up early, and poor Salim didn't get to go home to his son on his birthday. So I was kind of butthurt about that. I was like, I don't care about Eric and Rachel's relationship. I can fix that. I can't fix the ending. So the trophies, they're nice to get. They're fun. But be careful when it comes to House of Ashes grabbing some of these trophies, because a couple of the other ones are kind of hard to get because you gotta have certain criteria to get these trophies to activate. And it's like, I want to say burning, 5 of the creatures with the UV light. You have, oh god. So it was like the 5 creatures, the Merwin trophy, the Merwin calling everybody trophy. There's quite a few I didn't write down any of the trophy names and stuff, but there's quite a few number of trophies that kind of don't make it as easy and as short as playthrough as, say, some of the other ones. But yeah, I still say sit down, try to platinum that one. It is fun. Now, characters and stories. So, let's do a little refresher on the story. So, you play 5 Marines, which is Eric, Rachel, Nick, Jason, and then Salim, who works for the other team. And basically, what ends up happening is you think you found the weapons of mass destruction, and it turns out you actually found hell. I'm gonna leave it at that. You found hell. And going through this story, my initial thoughts or playthrough was, oh my god, they're vampires. Oh my god, they're demons. Oh my god, there's Pazuzu. Clearly they're vampire demons. And then the biggest twist of them all happens, and no, they're not vampires. They're not demons. They're aliens with a parasite that turns them into vampires. So I want to say I finally figured out the correct answer. They're alien vampires because they're aliens that became vampires. And I love that twist. I love that twist at the end. And the characters, they're all great except for Nick. Man, you just love how my attitude really changed, like, completely on that one. So, the reason why I say except for Nick is because they, for some strange reason, added this weird love triangle that I don't think was necessary. I was not a big fan of the love triangle. I thought, Eric and Rachel should have been together from the get-go because they had more of a cohesive story together, where they were married for about 3 years. There was an accident. She blamed herself. He blamed her. Everybody was mad at each other. He lost a leg. She didn't know what to do. So they both put themselves into their own work and kind of drifted apart. And that happens. But they were willing to come together for this one situation. And then they decided to throw in Nick, which ruined the whole come together situation by adding this stupid love triangle. Now, the reason why I say it's a stupid love triangle is because it's even said in the game. 3 weeks. They were together for 3 whole weeks. 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Let's count that. 1, 2, 3. How many days is that? 21 days. You know what the sad factor is? My shortest relationship was 3 months. And you're telling me this man's all, oh my god, Rachel, you're such the best. You should choose me over your husband because I was here. No, the fuck you weren't. No, you weren't, Nick. You used Rachel to deal with your own problems and you latched onto her as an emotional puppy. That's it. Like, I'm sorry, especially to all you Nick fans out there. I do apologize, but I hate Nick. I do. I hate Nick with a roaring passion. I find his character stupid. His character is freaking stupid. They would have wrote him better, or actually, even if they want to do the love triangle, have it where it was like a year relationship or something like that. But no, 3 weeks they were together, they banged maybe twice, and he's all in love with her, and she's just emotionally conflicted because she's more into her work than she is with her dating life at the current moment. And I feel like it brings down the whole story. Like, you got me in the feels with Jason and Salim. I love that combo. Like, they're my favorite combos together, 100%. Like, oh my god, Jason's a good old boy, but I love him. I do. I would take a bullet for that man. I got you, bro. Because, his love for Salim is, like, deep. Like, it starts off with, of course, death to everybody. And then as soon as he realizes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and they have a lot in common, he really takes, like, a good old smitten towards Salim, and I love that. And that's, again, with the character development we have here. Eric and Rachel, if done correctly, even if not done correctly, have their own conclusions, whether or not they want to be together or be separated. There's still some conclusions there. Salim, of course, his character arc is, do I destroy these people who I'm meant to fight in war, or do we put our differences aside and work together to get the hell up out of here? Then you got, of course, Jason, the same thing. Then you got Nick, who has very little character development. I feel like that's also what makes him the weakest part, the weakest element, is because of this whole love triangle. And it irks me because, I'm gonna be honest, the creator cut was pretty good. So let's go ahead and move down away from characters and stories and go to creator cut versus theatrical cut. Now, with this one, the creator cut was pretty good. I did like the added beginning elements. Just like with Devil in Me, of course, there's this opening. Like with Devil in Me, actually, technically, it's not even Devil in Me, it's with all of them. There's always that little prelude chapter, it gets you used to the mechanics and, sets up the story for what you're about to play, kind of. Like with Devil in Me, you start off with the couple who check into H.H. Holmes' motel. You meet H.H. Holmes. You get a feel of the traps, who H.H. Holmes is, who these characters are. Then we watch them die. Now, with House of Ashes, we meet these two characters, and of course, they're at war with each other, which more wink, wink, nudge, nudge, kind of foreshadowing. But they learn to put their differences aside to work together. And depending on who you let die first is depending on who the ancient one that's going to be following you around for the remainder of the story is going to be. And I like the fact that in the creator cut you get to see, of course, the other side instead of the dude who throws the spear, which I can never remember their names because they got some really crazy, unique names. And yeah, I love them both. But the guy from the creator cut definitely was fun. What else is different with the creator cut? Because unfortunately, there's really not much of a difference. Again, this is where this is why it's kind of at the bottom, because there's not much to the creator cut. Again, you play the same per-usual thing. Instead of playing like Eric, you're playing as Rachel, or vice versa, and all still plays out the same. But you have a choice whether or not you can affect the relationships. And with the creator cut, this one was a bit of a challenge, mainly because my story that I like to play through when I do House of Ashes is, of course, Eric and Rachel get together, Nick dies, we call it a day. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to you Nick fans, I'll say it again, I'm sorry. But unfortunately, in the creator cut, no matter which way I did certain things, Rachel either chose Nick or chose neither one of them. There was no Eric option there. I don't know what I did wrong with the creator cut to kind of mess that up. Also, Eric will always automatically call him backup support, which I'm not okay with because, again, we don't want to ruin Salim going home and see his boy. And also, most of the time, Rachel ends up killing herself at the end of that one. Like, straight up, she grabs one of those phosphor bombs or whatever it was, and she just blows herself up. It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. And I don't get where some of these extra choices really affect the story. Like, they're saying that the reason why Eric always calls in backup air support is because Rachel picks the ring. What do you think it should be the other way around, where he sees Rachel still wearing the ring? So he's just like, you know what? I'm going to show her how much of a man I really am. We got this, boys. We can handle this 100%. We don't need backup. But no, he does the opposite. And again, the only added scene I really saw was instead of Eric's flashback, where you saw how they wound up at the car wreck, you see her and Nick, which I wasn't really too impressed with because it's literally just Nick having a moment about what happened to him at the Border Patrol, where he accidentally shot that woman because she was wearing headphones. Like, again, he's not a horrible person. He just makes stupid decisions because he's young. He's young, and he latches on too much about certain things. And I get it, war is tough, it's hard, it's not for everybody. But latching on to Rachel is not the answer, okay? Let it go, Nick. 3 weeks, let it go. Like Elsa from Frozen. Just let it go. Let it go. Rachel doesn't love you anymore. Hell, I wouldn't even think she loved him to begin with. But the creator cut really didn't do too much for me. Like, again, it has some good moments. Like, I liked the fact as well that you get to play Salim, and the original fight that breaks out right before y'all dive into the ruins. And it was weird. It was really weird because the fact that I'm playing another army dude that isn't the main characters that I've been playing throughout the theatrical cut, and this guy is trying to kill us. Which on my playthrough, I didn't. No. No, I saved my buddy. I didn't use the rocket launcher. I made some jokes with my captain. But, you know, I play like a real chill dude. I shouldn't be in war. That's how chill I was playing Salim in those credits right there. But other than that, there really wasn't anything too spectacular about the creator cut when it came to House of Ashes. And, you know, it's just one of those situations where I love the story, but I need more, and where I need more at actually comes up from a game that's a little bit higher on the list that I didn't realize was going to be so high. But we'll get there when we get there. The point is, House of Ashes didn't really have too much going on with the creator's cut, and this is why when we come to replayability, which is up next, I have it as another 7, just like no, not 7 and 8. I'm sorry, an 8. So look at the wrong one. I have it a little bit higher than Devil in Me. Mainly it's because I love the story a little bit more in House of Ashes. Because, again, vampire aliens. Alright, let me phrase that. Alien vampires. Alien vampires. Like, you can't get over that twist there. Like, don't get me wrong. Running from a serial killer like Dumet and H.H. Holmes' Recreation was a blast. Like, it was everything I ever wanted in my little horror heart. But, come on. You can't beat alien vampires. Like, that was a twist I didn't even see coming. I seriously was all about vampires. I was like, 100% they gotta be vampires. 100% demon vampires. You know, some kind of crazy creatures that live down here. Because I was thinking, like, The Descent. Oh, God, what was that one movie? The Cave. That was it. The Cave, The Sin. I was thinking like that. Nope, they're aliens. They're aliens. You just come crashing onto the land, and they're infected by some parasite that makes them into vampires. And I love it. I love it. And also, like I said, all the characters are really nice and very enjoyable. But Nick, and again, I did my grievances about Nick. Now, some of the side characters, which I forgot to make a mention about the Devil in Me characters as well. The side characters are nice, you know. You got Clarice, I think that was her name, Clarice, the assistant to Eric. Her development in the game was really nice because there are certain moments where if you don't get rid of her, she's gonna come back with a vengeance, an evil, pissed off vengeance. And oh my god, like, there's a particular moment I have to kill her at. Like, if you let her stay in the caves, she comes back and attacks at the waterfall near the end of the game. And I think one of your characters could possibly die or is guaranteed to die depending on if they're injured or not. I can't really remember. But I usually kill her right there at Jason, let Jason handle her, because not only do we get a nice shot of the parasite coming out of her mouth, but it shows you that Jason's willing to do what no one else is willing to do. He's the one who's willing to take that shot for everybody. That's probably why in my creator cut, curator's cut of the whole game, Rachel only picked Nick or nobody, because I basically had Jason kill her, which I felt bad about. But again, I didn't want her coming at me in the waterfall, because I did that and one of my characters died. I don't know if it's because I messed up the quick time event or it's because one of them was injured, but yeah, they died. I was just like, no, I can't allow that to happen. And it just kept happening, so I accepted my fate and keep carrying on with life, which really sucked. But it's still a good game. It's still fun, and I do say it gives you a couple of times to replay it, because again, you can have it where you leave Clarice in the basement. You leave Clarice in the cave. She comes at you the waterfall, or you can kill her later on, and the relationship be a little weird and wonky between Eric and Rachel. Or you can keep her alive, and she can just kill Eric later on in the game. Like, she really can't. I had that happen in my first playthrough of the game. I was like, no, we can save her, we can save her. That bitch turned and came at Eric and broke his neck. I was just like, son of a bitch. And this was after the big old fight scene where you get the switch between every character that's in that fight scene and had to survive the swarm of alien vampires. Oh my god, I was so mad about that. Like 3 hours. Like, I played that game for like 12 hours. 12 freaking hours. Which reminds me, another thing I forgot to make a mention. So, with Devil in Me, I was at 34 hours total in that game. Granted, I could probably play a little bit more to get some of those trophies and stuff. So, I would say roughly it would take you about 40 hours to do a completionist run on that. With House of Ashes, I was only at it for 23 hours. And again, I feel like maybe 30 to 32 hours you could probably get it done and get all the trophies and stuff that you want. But I had fun playing that one. It is, again, one of my favorite stories. I'm a big sucker for creature feature types of movies, and it was fun. It was fun, but the reason why I rank it so low is mainly because of the creator's cut. Because it's kind of pointless. It really is. It's a little pointless. It's not that interesting. I will say some of the choices you can make in the game, whether it be theatrical or curator's cut, it can really affect how you play the game. Like, case in point, instead of having tools like you do in Devil and Me, you have options to pick up stuff that could be useful for you later on, such as Merwin's med kit. If you go down a certain hallway, you can pick up his med kit and then carry on to this scene with Salim and Nick, where they're about to jump onto one of these creatures and kill it. And the reason why you need that is because if somebody's injured, you can patch them up. And when you get into the hive mind, where you're basically trying to destroy all the aliens, you can actually get Nick killed because somebody's hurt or Nick is bleeding. The point is, if you don't have that med kit, somebody is going to wake up and someone may die, especially as you go further into that whole situation. But overall, it's at number 7 because of the curator cut, just kind of bringing it down, and also the fact that I'm just not a big fan of the love triangle. The love triangle is stupid. I don't like it. I don't care for it. Was it needed? Maybe. Did I want it? Not really. So let's go ahead and move on to number 6. Now, number 6, I was a little surprised by this because I really thought these next two would be at the bottom of my listing, but after doing my calculations with my criterias and me replaying them multiple times, these actually moved up compared to the other two. Which I find funny because of the fact that, like I said, 7 and 8 had two of the best stories that I could ever ask for when it comes to these games. This one, however, is a little divisive in the community, and that is Little Hope. Now, the reason why this one's so divisive in the community is because if you play the game, you all know that none of your choices in the game have any kind of, not consequences per se, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter because none of the characters, except for Anthony, are real. But the reason why this one's a little bit higher up is because something I noticed. It was something I noticed directly after this one. I think it was House of Ashes that started this. A lot of people like to bring up the fact that, well, all these games start with, you know, a quote from somebody and then saying the choices you make can help somebody live or somebody die. And that is true. House of Ashes and Devil in Me do that. Man of Medan and Little Hope do not. And I find that quite interesting that they didn't start implementing that particular thing until after Little Hope. And it was right at House of Ashes. So let's start with why this one's a little bit higher on the list. So the graphics and look-wise, it's a solid 7. The reason why it's a solid 7 for me is because it holds up extremely well for an older game, being not the oldest game, but it's a pretty up there game. Oh, I'm sorry, not 7 and 8. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one again. 8. Again, it's one of the older games, but it still looks good. It still feels great. I think design-wise, especially with the town, how creepy it is, gives me a Silent Hill feel. It is beautiful. Granted, though, I feel like some of the areas felt a little empty and a little bare, mainly just so you could wander off in one direction, just so you could find, oh, excuse me, just so you can find either, like, a piece of evidence or something like that's just obscure reference to something that happened in the town, or even have little postcards you can find and stuff like that. I feel like there was a lot of area that really was not needed. Like, some of the houses look great, like the museum sections, the actual burned down houses, but sadly, unfortunately, some of the character models, they're a little off, and mainly it's Taylor's model. She looks good, don't get me wrong, she looks good, but I noticed there was a couple of moments where some of the shadowing on her was just not coming out very well. But other than that, I feel like mainly it's because, again, characters look great except for Taylor on occasion. It was one of those situations with Rachel, but the difference was Rachel had a bit of a rounder face and many moments where I think it was only like 3 scenes where Taylor's face looked a little obscure in the darkness. I don't know, again, that was just a technical glitch or what that was. But overall, a solid 8 for kind of the graphics and everything. It still holds up pretty well. It looks good. Now, trophies. I say trophies are hard. Now, the reason why I say hard is because you got to play this multiple times. Because each character has their own traits that you need to unlock, which that's always fun. Then you have to make everyone live, everyone die. You have to have all the evidence, all the postcards. Then you have to choose all heart options, all head options. So you're literally playing this game like 6 times, 6 to 7 different times, just to make sure you have everything. And it's kind of annoying. It's kind of annoying, especially because the replayability of this one kind of suffers like the other ones do, but there is a bit of a difference, but we'll get there when we get there. So, with little hope, the characters and the stories, I personally, after sitting down and replaying it multiple times, because originally I wasn't a big fan of the whole it was on his head scenario. None of this really happened. Yeah, originally I didn't like that, because I'm like, that's a cheap cop-out. But once I started replaying the game and I got to know the struggles a little bit more of each of these characters, it kind of set in me. And as you think about it, Little Hope is the saddest game out of all 8 of these. The saddest of the saddest. Because of the fact that it's all about a man trying to deal with his own understanding and grief of what happened to his entire family. And that's basically what each of these characters represent. And of course, you got Anthony. Anthony's still himself. You have Taylor, who's supposed to represent his sister. You got Angela, who's supposed to be his mom. Daniel, who's supposed to be his brother. And of course, John, his father. Now, each of these characters are great. They're wonderful. I don't have any dislikes. Well, I wouldn't say necessarily dislikes. It's just one of those situations where I feel like John's a little abrasive. It's not like with House of Ashes, where I know for a fact Jason's my favorite character and Nick's my least favorite character. Or even like a situation with Devil and Me, where I'm like, it's Kate. I don't have a least favorite character. And it's got, actually, no, I would say it's more like the Devil in Me, where I have a character that I really love, which is Anthony, because I love the guy who plays him, Will Porter, I think is his name. I can never pronounce it, but it's the guy from We the Millers, or Meet the Millers, or whatever the hell that movie was called, with the iconic, wait a minute, you guys are getting 25,000? He only promised me 10,000. Wait a minute, he only promised you 10,000? He only promised me 5. wait a minute, y'all guys are getting money? Like, I love that scene. But I love that actor because I saw him in a couple other things before that particular movie. So, you know, he's a favorite actor of mine. And he's a really good actor, by the way. A really good actor. But there's really no weak characters. Again, John, he's just a little abrasive, you know, trying to take charge of everything. But that's how he saw his father. And if you read between the lines, a lot of the characteristics from his family actually shine through into these characters. So we kind of get to know his family a little bit more, too. Like with Angela. Angela, of course, she comes off as one of those older students you meet, and she's a little, you know, she's definitely abrasive. She's a little needy, kind of a bitch. But that's how the mom was. She was very loudly spoken, concerned about everybody, wanted to protect everybody. So you kind of got to see the opposite side of her, which I'm sure is just another part of the mom herself. Because every mom wants to hold himself to a certain standard. You know, I am the protector of my family. I make sure everybody survives the winter and stuff like that. And John's kind of the same thing as being a dad. He's more concerned about his job, though, which makes that line at the end with John where he's just like, I'm so getting fired tomorrow. It's kind of hilarious, but sad at the same time, because if you know the story of Little Hope, which is these 5 characters wind up in a little town called Little Hope, and they are going through these flashbacks of the Salem witch trials by their doppelgangers. And it's like an obsession moment where, you know, we're having a dream within inside of a dream kind of scenario. But because of that, I personally like this story. Originally, I didn't. But the more I played and the more I got to know these characters, and I got to realize that these characters not only represent the bad of his family, but also the families themselves, their insecurities. You know, you get a good character development with each one of these characters. You know, John becoming less abrasive, you know, kind of being chill a little bit. Angela's a little bit nicer. Of course, Taylor and Daniel, they get together. She do everything right. Which, if you think about it, is a little weird because they're supposed to be the representation of his siblings. But if it helps, they're all adopted, okay? They're all adopted. But you also had this deep underlining story going on about what's happening in the town and what's happening with Megan. Now, if you piece everything together, you find out that not only is we're gonna call him John for this scenario. We're gonna call the family's names by their names that Anthony knows them as in the game. So we know John works at the factory or the mill or whatever. That's basically about to get shut down by the evil freaking mayor. Now, this evil freaking mayor is related to a reverend. I do believe he's related somehow to the reverend from the Salem witch trials. And that there was a character or a young girl who he took under his wing that it's rather obvious that he wasn't trying to protect her. I'm not going to dive into too much detail because YouTube's algorithm and YouTube, you know, no talks and conversations. It's one of those things. We all know what type of person this reverend was supposed to be, and it makes me sick. It really does. Because I hated him. I'm sorry. People like that disgust me, and they need to be buried 6 feet under with cement on top of them, okay? They need to be buried like H.H. Holmes, alright? Because they're disgusting individuals. Disgusting. And if you don't agree with me on that, that's fine. But don't have a conversation with me about that because I don't believe those types of people are normal, are functional in society, and really don't need a place here on this earth. But that's just me personally. You know, it's one thing when there's a miscommunication, you know, you accidentally took a piss in the wrong spot, that makes sense. But when you're actively dealing with children because you like children, I'm not okay with that. I am not okay. So I don't like this preacher. So to kind of put 2 and 2 together to find out that the teacher at Megan's school is doing the exact same thing and kind of brainwashing her, you know. And it gets you thinking whether or not the demon you saw was legitimately a demon or her own personification of what she thought the preacher would want her to say or do. And it really gets you thinking, it gets your gears a turning. And that's something I do like about this game. It gets you thinking. You have to pick up all the clues in the story to understand the full situation. Like, you can play the game through without all the clues and still come up with the same ending. But with the clues and the evidence and everything, you can put the entire story together, and it's fun. It's fun. Even though the whole story is sad and twisted and a little messed up, that is why this one's higher than the other two. Even though, like I said, House of Ashes and Devil in Me are like the prime examples of what I love in choose your own adventure horror games, it's the story in Little Hope. The story in Little Hope, get past the whole it's in his head thing. Yes, it's a cliche. Yes, it's been done multiple times, but you know what? It's been done well here. It's been done extremely well. And I say, never skip Little Hope. It's like with Doctor Who. Never skip Ecclestein's Doctor. Watch Ecclestein's Doctor. Play Little Hope. It might be a little boring to some, but that is where this next part comes in at. Creator cut versus theatrical cut. So I will admit, the theatrical cut, it's a little sluggish at some points, a little slow, because there are some moments that it seems to take its time getting to. Somehow, though, in the creator's cut, it feels different. It feels quicker. It feels cohesive. Like, when I was doing my cuts for Halloween while I was out on vacation, every other game, I did a combination of a theatrical cut with the creator cut because there are certain elements I like in both. With Little Hope, it was the only one I decided to use strictly the curator's cut because it told the story I wanted to tell. And it played out the way I wanted it to play out, and it was beautiful. So the creator cut for Little Hope, it's definitely freaking worth it in the end. Like, I say, play the creator cut. You will have a lot of fun. I don't know if it's necessarily you could buy the creator cut separately or you have to play the theatrical cut to get to it first. But no matter what, play the creator cut. It tells the story wonderfully, and I highly do recommend it. As for replayability, I gave that one, like The Devil in Me, a 7. Now, the reason why I gave that one a 7 is because of the fact that not much to the creator cut, like Devil in Me, where you just play the opposites of the characters. But I will say the opening is different, which I like. Like, you get to play the sister, which was fun, and you get to, like, basically choose how she dies compared to in the beginning with the theatrical cut. You tell her, oh, try to do this, and then she does, and then winds up dying. Which, by the way, was I the only one taking a bath that first time playing, and she slipped and basically hung herself? I was just like, oh no. And then, of course, the curator, at the beginning of that game, it's just like, yeah, no, you couldn't do anything to change that. There's nothing to do. But let's move to the future. It's like, damn, bro. Just a knife in the heart, why don't you? But the replayability, though, it's mainly, because a lot of the choice, the trophies you can get are just choose the hard answer, choose the head answer, have all the character live, unlock these traits. There's really not much that changes throughout the story, though. Even if you kill the character or take away a character, it doesn't really affect the story as much as, let's say, House of Ashes or Devil in Me, where keeping certain characters alive, it depends on how everything plays out at the end. Because even though everything's a happy ending, with like Devil in Me and with House of Ashes, it still leads off whether we have X amount of characters alive. With Little Hope, it really doesn't matter if all the characters are alive, but it does matter if you want a full, like, happy conclusion. The happiest you can get, by the way, because there's some depressing ass endings when it comes to Little Hope. And the replayability for those, unless you want to get your heart broken, don't do it, man. Don't do it. Because those endings are so depressing. Like, you have one where Anthony, if he's got the gun and everybody ends up dying in the house at the end, he finishes his own story that way. And if you don't get that, I truly am sorry, but I can't say that magic word here on YouTube because YouTube's like, that's a no-no word. As if we pretend this word does not exist, it cannot hurt us. So you can't say the word, otherwise we're not gonna push your video out. Cause yeah, that's how that makes sense, YouTube. That's very logical. Just, if we pretend the word doesn't exist, it can't hurt us. But we all know what Anthony ends up doing at the end of that one. Or he can get arrested and get told off by Vincent that, he should never came back to this town. And I find those sad. Even though the good ending has it to where everyone's alive, it helps him move on. It helps him deal with his emotions about the situation. So, yeah, when it comes to playing the game, it's a 7. I would say an 8 if you want to replay some of the sad endings, but because I don't want to replay those sad endings again, it's a 7. It's a 7. Still a fun game, though. That's why it's actually ranked a little bit higher than the other two that I really love, even though the story's a little bit more basic, where, again, you're trapped in the town, and the doppelgangers of the Salem Witch Trials of your family are coming at each other, and it's them dealing with their own demons. It's a whole metaphor. It's just him dealing with his own demons, dealing with their own demons kind of thing. It's bazonkers, it's crazy, but it's still fun. But if you want to talk about some bazonky craziness now, this one I am thoroughly surprised is this high on the list because when I originally played it, it was my least favorite of the bunch. It truly was. I'm not going to say I didn't have fun playing this one, but I was just like, why with the ending? Because I had the ending spoiled for me before I got to play that game. Accidentally, I think one night we had Jacksepticeye playing in the background, and he was playing this particular game, and I ended up seeing the ending, so I was a little bummed out. But I think it helped me in the end because it saved all the characters, and that is Man of Medan. Now, with this one, I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did when I replayed it. I'm going to be 100% honest. But before we dive on into all of that, let's start with graphics and looks. Now, this one's a little bit weaker on the graphics because of the fact that it is the oldest game in the title next to Until Dawn. It was the first of the Dark Picture Anthology series, so it's not the strongest look-wise. But I am a sucker for the isolation part. Instead of being trapped in a small town we can't get out of, we're trapped on a freaking marine boat or an army boat, and I'm going to be honest, there's a lot of spookiness about this boat, okay? Like, first of all, I'd like to give kudos to the smoke. That even in the beginning of the game, where you're playing as Charlie and his buddy, who are walking around, you can still see the smoke just on the ground hovering there. A lot of the rooms, unfortunately, look kind of the same. Thus is why I say it's a little bit weaker, because some of the rooms, you can kind of tell something like they're a bed or something like that, but a lot of the other rooms, because it's so trashed and rustic and, like falling apart, it's kind of hard to tell where you've been at. But luckily, though, not unfortunately, but luckily, it's kind of lenient, kind of like with Little Hope. It's very lenient. I mean, how I can say that about all of these games. They're very lenient. Like, yeah, the worlds feel open, but there's only one direction you can go. Like, seriously, there's only one direction you can go. And with the boat, you can definitely tell because you're in, like, these cramped little corridors and you're walking around. It feels very claustrophobic and very weird. But other than that, I'd say a solid 7. Now, trophies. I say this one's hard too because of the fact that you have to play this at least 6 times, maybe 7. Because again, they want you to play all the hard options, all the head options. You have to play on multiplayer. That's something else I forgot to mention. With Little Hope is that you have to play multiplayer and movie night and shared story. Like, you have to play all these different versions of the same freaking game. But it's definitely worth it. So let's move on to characters and stories, because there's really not much to talk about when it comes to trophies. The same thing with the Little Hope trophies. It's just like relationship status. Get Phyllis and Connie all the way up. Brad and Alex, Julie and Alex all the way up. Then it adds to the whole replayability and having to redo a lot of the stuff for these trophies and stuff like that. Stuff and things and stuff. You get it. You get it. But the story with this one is you play 5 individuals who are scuba divers who find a wrecked plane from World War II, and you wind up finding a map that's leading you to a location. And unfortunately, at the same time this is happening, a bunch of pirates come out of nowhere. And I don't mean cool pirates like Captain Jack Sparrow or anything like that. I mean like literally the pirates that you would see in real life. They end up hopping on the ship during one stormy night and kidnapping everybody to take them to this place on the map, which is actually circled with Maturian gold. Now, when I originally played this, I had no idea what the hell Maturian gold was. I was just like, what is this made-up fictional name that they're throwing out there? Apparently, though, it's not fictional. It's a real thing. It's like the best way I can describe the Maturian gold is Scarecrow's fear toxin. That's basically it. It's like a fear toxin. It scares you to death. And that is something I do love about this game, is that if you don't know the twist, it makes everything so much more difficult, because you're just like, oh, do I kill this? Do I hurt that? Who do I stab here? It's dangerous to pick up weapons in that game. Like, it's beyond dangerous to pick up weapons in that game, because you don't know. You don't know. So maybe that's why I had everybody survive my first playthrough, because of the fact that I knew that the people I was fighting were not monsters, but like my friends of the game. So I was just like, no, I'm not going to stab this person. Oh my god, no, I'm not going to stab myself. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I don't want to die. But you play as Alex, Brad, Julie, Connie, and Fliss. Now, these characters, they are a hoot. They are a hoot, 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 hoot. The reason why I say that is because Connie. Simple as that. Connie's a hoot. I love Connie. Connie's my boo. I will, just like Jason, I would take a bullet for him. I love him. He's funny, he's cute, he's adorable, and he's such a ladies' man. Not good at picking up cues, very flirtatious, but I love him. I do. I love him. And their character developments they're there. But there are more elements that are part of the story, such as Alex and Julie's relationship, whether or not she, accepts Alex's proposal, if she decides to drink the beer. With Connie, it's all about him and Phyllis' relationship. And Brad's just there. Like, Brad's just Brad. Brad is just there. But Brad has this magical ability, like Connie, to have an extra chapter dedicated to himself. Which I absolutely love that, by the way. And that's why Amanda Madonna's kind of high up on my list. It's because not only is there great characters to this, but there's also options of how to play this game. But we'll talk more about that when we get to the replayability of this game. But overall, the characters and the story of this one is really fiery, especially if you don't know it going in. And if you do know going in, you can still have fun with this, especially with how you can rearrange all the characters. Like, this is the one that has the most diverse character moments you can have, especially if, like, certain characters are missing or by themselves and stuff like that. But again, we'll dive more into that in the replayability part. Now, creator cut versus theatrical cut. Now, I'm going to be honest. I like both versions. I like both versions because both versions tell a nice story that concludes all the way around. I'm more of a fan of the creator cut because you do get to hang out with Connie a little bit more. The only one I don't, when I say a little bit more with Connie, is just the extra little boat scene with him and Phyllis and lighting the grill and stuff. But mainly, oh, excuse me, again. Hey, I am a burping fool today. But mainly it's the fact in the theatrical cut you play more as Connie, especially if Connie is by himself in certain chapters, and Phyllis is, I think, by herself too. Actually, to be honest, when it comes to creator's cut, you want Fliss to be with Brad, which Brad can have his own chapter too. But again, we'll dive more into that in a bit. But the creator cut is fun. You know, you get to play the opposite of the friend in the beginning. Of course, there's some extra moments with Connie. Now, I will say it's a little challenging because of the fact that if you do something wrong, when Julie comes up too quickly, she'll get the bends, right? And that's part of the curator cut. She's going to get the bends. Now, depending on whether or not you have a high enough relationship with Alex, is whether or not she is going to drink that beer. Now, if you play it pretty straight and you do what you want, being a strong, independent woman, oh, Julie's dead at the end of the game. Because she's going to have that beer. And she's going to be dead. Dead. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But if you do everything normal, where you're just like, alright, I won't go through that hole, I'll listen to you, we won't touch anything, me and Alex have a great relationship, she won't have that beer. And you should be fine. You should be more than fine, and she will make it to the end as long as you don't mess up anything else. But both versions are really good. I don't really have a favorite between the two, because both of them have some good elements to them. I will say Fliss had an extra scary scene that actually spooked the hell out of me because of that. And that's originally, and you can only get this in the creator's cut, by the way, because in the beginning, of course, you're playing the opposite of the main dude you play in theatrical cut, right? So with him, I think it's Charlie. I think his name is Charlie. So Charlie has an option of whether or not to confront the demon and die of a heart attack, or go hide in a closet and then die in there. And if he happens to die in there when Felicia's looking around in a later chapter in the ballroom, she could open up the cabinet and see a clown. There's a freaking clown just sitting there, and it starts recreating the scene from It Chapter 2 where it starts slamming its head on the window. And that spooked the hell out of me. And then when the hallucination ends and you're back in the normal cargo hold bay, you see that it's a dead body in there. It's a freaking dead body. And it scared the shit out of me. Several moments scared the shit out of me on that. But both versions, very good, very excellent. Same thing with, fuck, I lost my train of thought on that one, but it'll be alright. It'll be alright. Choo Choo jumped off the track, and I'm sure it'll come back eventually. But the point is, the creator cut and theatrical cut, they're very fun. They're very different from each gameplay because this is where we're finally getting into the replayability. Now, replayability for Man of Medan, 10. Solid freaking 10. And the reason why I say that is not only do you get to choose between creator cut and theatrical cut, whether or not, you know, whichever one you want to play, but you also get the decision on who gets to go where. So you can have it where Brad and Felicia are hanging out together at one point. Or if you don't like that, Brad can come out of his hiding spot early. Or, you know, Alex could need his help and then Brad comes out. You know, the point is, if Brad is not on the boat, he gets to hang out with Felicia a little bit more, and then it plays out that way. Or Brad can get his own chapter. Then Connie, of course, he has the ability to leave the game completely and then come back later on and save the day. Or he can get on the boat and have his own chapter called Glamour Girl. And again, there's just so many variables, so many options you could choose of how you want to play this game. That's so hard to choose. And of course, each one has their own unique scares and moments that really make the game just like, oh my freaking god. Like, I know during my last playthrough for the Halloween specials I wound up doing, I ended up combining both some elements from the creator cut with the theatrical cut. But I had it where Brad and Felicia were together because I liked this whole scare that I got in the theatrical cut. No, it was creator cut. Where Brad thought he saw Alex and had a choice of whether or not to, you know, kill Alex. And unfortunately, I was just like, no, I'm not gonna hit Alex because I know it ain't real. Alex then jumped on top of Brad, and I thought for a second I killed Brad. I was just like, no, Brad, no, that's not supposed to happen. But no, it turned out he's completely alright. He's fine. He's just hallucinating. But it still got me. Even though I played this game like 3 times, it still got me. And that's something I really love about Man of Medan, is the fact that I played it multiple times. I think I played the most out of all of these. With Man of Medan, I only got 25 hours on there, but I still had it's one of the more shorter ones too, so that's why it's only 25 hours. It's like, I want to say you complete the whole game in under 4 hours, but I can see why. It's giving you a lot of options to play with the story, and I like that. I really like that. It's the only one out of the bunch that really makes me feel like I have options here that aren't just filler options that can still tell the story and add some creepy factors about it. This is why Man of Medan is number 5 on this list, because it's just a beautiful, well-crafted story. The elements of the boat, isolation, the characters themselves. I have to say, favorite character, Connie. I love Connie. Connie's my boo. He's my bae. He's my everything. And then Julia, she kind of went down as my least favorite because it's mainly her snarky attitudes, that preppy I'm better than you attitude. What I mean by that is she gets like really mad because, you know, Felice is all like, you need to follow the rules, and she's all like, I paid for this. Like, bitch, your rich privilege is really showing here, 100%. But again, not bad characters. Like, they're both great characters. Both love them. But if I had to choose between best and worst, Connie, number 1. Julie, you at the bottom of the tier, Kelly. I'm sorry. But let's move on to number 4. And number 4, I was a little surprised because I was expecting this to be in my top 2. But with the ranking system and all that, I have to say it is number 4, and it is The Quarry. Now, I love The Quarry, 100%. It's beautiful. It hits me in nostalgic feels. I call the first time I ever played The Quarry, I was just like, so we're dealing with werewolves, right? Like, seriously, like the moment oh god, what's his name? I know it's Ted Raimi's character. What is his name? Not Chris. Ah, god, I can't remember Ted Raimi's name. Okay, so the point is, the moment Ted Raimi's character is in the basement, knocks Laura out with the needle, and it shoots in the basement, and he screams out, does this look like the Harbinger Motel to you? And then we slow pan over to the moon, and we hear Fly Me to the Moon. I was like, so werewolves, right? We're dealing with werewolves? It's totally werewolves. And I knew it from the beginning, and I loved the fact that I knew the whole plot twist from like the first 10 minutes of the game. But before we dive on into all that gloriousness, let's talk about graphics and looks. I have to say, The Quarry, honestly, looks fantastic. It looks great. It is a beautiful game. The summer camp is amazing from daytime to nighttime. Some of the locations, like the Hackett House and the tunnels underneath, are really cool. The outdoor forest sections are really nice. Everything's so beautiful and well crafted, and the music. God, the music. I love this soundtrack. It's one of my favorites out of all the games. It is my favorite soundtrack of them all. I literally listen to the Quarry soundtrack at least a few times a week. I'm not even joking. I love it. I 100% love it. Unfortunately, I can't rank on music because I want to say, like, Little Hope, Devil in Me, and all of them, they don't have any actual music besides the opening song, which is still a killer song, but the Quarry's got the soundtrack, man. The Quarry's got that soundtrack. So, let's talk about trophies. Even though it's a beautiful game, it's a gorgeous game, the trophies, I would say it's medium to easy. And the reason why I say that is you can get this, I think, within 3 to 4 gameplays, because I platinumed this one. And I want to say it took me 3 gameplays to do all this. Because unfortunately, the reason why I say it's medium is because you have to play the game all the way through. Like, I don't know why. I seriously have no idea why. That the rest of them, you can literally pick whatever chapter you want and start from there and move on with life. With the Quarry, you have to play the game, then you get chapter selection, you can only choose one chapter to restart on. And I'm just like, no, don't do that to me. So now you're forcing me to replay this game. And I don't like that. Don't force me to replay this. I want to replay it because I want to replay it. But unfortunately, because of that, you have a choice whether or not to get all the tarot cards or all the evidence. You can't get both. Sadly, you can't get both in one run. Like, you literally have to choose. And it mainly stems down to chapter 2 or 3. I want to say it's 2, though. Where you play as Abby and Nick, and you have a choice whether to go to the rocky road or the meadow. And of course, you want to go to the meadow because the meadow is so cute and beautiful, and you get that one piece of evidence. But the rocky gives you that one tarot card. So you literally have to make a decision on which run you want to do. But they're pretty simple, though. You know, you have everybody die, everybody live, everybody gets infected. I think the 2 hardest trophies I had to do on that one was, of course, Hard Pass and Peanut Butter Pop. Now, Hard Pass was not as difficult as a lot of people make it out to be, because with Hard Pass, all you had to do is literally ignore chapters 10, or no, is it chapter 9 or chapter 10? It's basically when Abby's in the basement, and you have that option to get that one tarot card that tells you the backstory of Elise, you know, the chick, the gypsy woman that is talking to you throughout the game. Skip that one. Skip that one, and then just keep passing, and you will have no problem getting the Hard Pass trophy. Like, seriously, don't even pick it up. Don't bother, because as soon as you pick it up, it's automatically going to show you the flashback, and I'm assuming it is counting as you got help from her. So I just personally just skipped that one. You already had enough cards as is from the collection. I want to say when you're playing as Laura and Ryan throughout the game, near the end, you have like a whole bunch of cards you can find. Which, speaking of characters and stuff, let's go ahead and move down, because there's really not much else to say about the trophies, except you can get them done pretty easily. It's just some of them are a little bit more complicated. Oh yeah, I forgot to make a mention, Peanut Butter Pop trophy. So that one is the most difficult trophy out of all of them to get, because of the fact that it requires you to be in action and not take the action. As in, oh wait, no, I think it's you got to be in action, you have to take action. There's only a certain number of ones that allow you to do that. And the way I obtained this trophy was 2 things. 1, I put on auto aim assist, because I didn't know exactly where they wanted me to shoot at when the time came, and where they didn't want me to shoot at. So I put on auto aim assist, and I let the game make the decision for me. Second was I did an everybody gets infected run, where basically, well, as the title suggested, everybody got infected. Everybody got infected, so I think I had Emma get infected in the treehouse. We had Jacob get infected, I think, at the bridge. Abby, she got bit in the beginning, but of course, because Kayla, or whatever her name was, gets shot by Laura always in the game, she doesn't turn. Of course, Ryan automatically gets turned. Dylan, I had him get bit, and he survived by chopping his hand off. No, I had him actually survive because I shot Silas? Was that how I did that one? I can't really remember. But the point is, have mainly it's Emma and Jacob getting affected at a certain point, and then she'll play off like normal. But that trophy was a little difficulty to get, but I say auto aim assist and doing an everybody gets infected run definitely helps. If you're not too sure about it, I do have a video that can guide you through it. It's literally a Peanut Butter Pop and Hard Pass trophy. It's one of the first YouTube videos I did with a whole bunch of editing and stuff to it. And I say definitely check it out if you need more information about how to get that trophy, because I know a lot of people are still trying to figure out how to get that trophy. But let's move on to my favorite element, which is the character in the story. So, the story for this one is you're a bunch of counselors at summer camp on the last day, and because of Jacob, my little peanut butter pop boy, he winds up sabotaging the vehicle, and everyone gets stuck in the campsite while there are werewolves running around. So you have to survive the night. Now, I will say, it was nostalgic feel, like 100% nostalgic feel when playing this game, because again, you had the 80s vibes, you got the summer camp, you got the werewolves. Like, it's just wraps me up in a warm nostalgic blanket and like cuddles me tight. I love it. Like, I really do. And the characters are beautiful. Let's talk about the characters. So you got Laura and Max, who you play in the beginning of the game, and Laura later on in chapter 7. Abby, Dylan, Emma, Jacob, Caitlin, Nick, and Ryan. And now all these characters are really, really good. My only complaint with these characters, or at least with one of the characters, is I feel like his decisions, especially if you're trying to get a certain run, make no sense. I'm talking about Ryan. Ryan's character feels very underutilized and underdeveloped a little bit. I'm going to be honest. Like, I like Ryan as a character, you know, kind of in the closet, can be bisexual. Of course, Dylan's my boo. Dylan's everything to me. I love Dylan. And of course, Caitlin are all smit with Ryan because he's all smoldering and kind of mysterious and shit like that. But I feel like they didn't really do too terribly much with Ryan. Now, some of the other characters, they got kind of cuckold as well. I'm going to be honest, Max got a little bit cuckold, but not as badly as Ryan, because we actually get to play as Ryan, whereas Max, we really don't get to play as him at all until chapter 10 for all of like 5 seconds. I'm not even joking about that. Like, we literally play with him like not even like a minute. But I feel like with Max, we did get more information about him because we found out that he didn't get to go to the school that he wanted to. He's still, processing this. This was supposed to be, I guess, his way of thinking and dealing with things until he got bit by a werewolf. With Ryan, yes, he is Chris's favorite counselor, which, by the way, I got to give a shout out to the Hackett family being the greatest family in gaming history. Okay, first of all, David Arquette as Chris Hackett. Phenomenal choice. Lin Shaye. I can never remember the name of the actor who plays Bishop from the Aliens franchise, but he's playing Jedediah. Like, come on. Those are like 3 horror icons right there, all in the same family. And Ted Raimi. We can't forget about Ted Raimi now. Ted Raimi is the bomb diggity. I love him. I love him and his brother's work. They're phenomenal actors and directors. But oh my god, like, I just love the Hackett family. I do. I really do. And I'm sorry, but I still remember when I first played it, and we got to that point where you're struggling with the gun with Constance, and it makes me laugh because I didn't mean to, but quick time evaded. You think, alright, smash button, everything should be alright. Nah, she jerks back that gun and blows Lin Shaye's face off. I was just like, oh my god, Lin Shaye, oh Jesus Christ, oh that was gnarly. But Lin Shaye, like, I was upset that I killed Lin Shaye. I was not ready for her to go. I needed some more Lin Shaye action in my life, and I accidentally got her killed pretty early in her chapter. But character development wise, I think a lot of people did a good arc overall. You had, of course, Jacob, who a lot of people really don't like Jacob. I don't know. I find his cute boyish charms really nice, and he's an adorable 18-year-old. He really is. He's adorable. He just wants one more night with the girl he likes. He didn't cause any of this to truly happen. Like, he didn't know about the freaking werewolves. How was he supposed to know? He was just thinking, I get one more nice night with the girl I love, and maybe I can make her see this could work. I'm gonna be honest, Emma, kind of a bitch. I get her reasoning, she's young, they're going to college, she doesn't do the long distance thing, but come on, she's not taking Jacob's feelings into consideration about the whole situation. Like, she wants to play, like, she's trying to play it off as the party girl, it's just a fling, it's no big deal. And I get a lot of girls like that, but I don't like girls like that. Like, you could be a hoe, but don't play with somebody's emotions like that. Like, I'm sure Jacob understood what was going on. He understood the assignment. But he caught the feels. And she should have maybe had a sit-down conversation with him about this. And, like, even at the end, if you have the choice whether or not to have her talk to Jacob and him confessing what he really did. I forget what the name of the trophy was, but it's basically he confesses to Emma what he did. And in the end, she still blames him. She's just like, oh, so this is all your fault. Again, no, Emma. It's not his fault. Yes, he sabotaged the vehicle so he could have one more night with you. This whole werewolf thing, not his fault. Actually, you want to put the blame on somebody, it's the Hackett's family's fault. Okay, as much as I love them, it's all their fault. That's why Elise is very happy when you killed them all. Which, fun trophy to get, by the way, is we should have checked into the motel, kill everybody, don't even go near Silas, boom, you get a very happy ending. Huh, I love that ending too, which is really funny. It's one of my favorite ways to play it. Like, I don't even, like, unfortunately, Ryan gets the shit in his stick and I always kill him at the end, which I find very aggravating that he has the option to reject the bite, which, if you think about it, makes sense to Ryan's character, because Ryan doesn't want to kill Chris. Chris is like a second father to him, almost, you know, a parental figure, if I may say, because you hear a little bit about his home life where, you know, I think it's just him and his grandma and his sister, and it's kind of sad that we don't get more development into his world. But unfortunately, it was just like that we had too many characters and someone had to get backdrafted here, and unfortunately it was Ryan. But it kind of makes sense, but kind of doesn't, that he doesn't want Laura to bite him because she says you are dying, and he just doesn't want to become a werewolf because then that means he has to kill Chris. Otherwise, he will be a werewolf forever, and he doesn't want to deal with this shit. So he's put in a terrible situation, and if you choose not to do it, well, he ends up dying anyway, which kind of, because he ends up shooting Chris and then dying anyways, which really freaking sucks. I wish there was a way to have it to where he got bit and still survived the whole situation, but you could still kill Travis. That was the name of Ted Raimi's character, Travis. I knew it was going to eventually come to me. Travis. I wish there was still a way to kill Chris and the entire family and have Ryan still live. If they would do that, I would be really, really happy about that. But unfortunately, to get the we should have gone to the motel ending, you gotta kill Ryan so Laura and Travis can have a bit of a conversation, and then she kills Travis with the gun. Like, it kind of sucks that they can't have a, like, come to Jesus moment where they're like, wait a minute, this mother, hold my gun, Ryan, I'm about to beat the shit out of this guy. Like, I really wish there was more, like, a moment like that or something, you know, where it still gave you the option to kill Travis then and there. Because, unfortunately, if you go up to Silas and you change your mind, two of the characters are dead, especially if you don't have the wolf blood that you find in the tree. That means three of your characters are dead. So the point is, I really wish they would have done a different way for Ryan to die here instead of just, I don't want to get bit. Oh well. Like, it just seems stupid. Like, he's accepting his fate that he rather would die than to kill Chris, which I like that as a character development moment, because of the fact that that shows you how loyal he is to Chris. He would rather die than kill his favorite counselor, but he winds up doing it anyway, which kind of negates the whole purpose of, oh, I really don't want to do it. Like, again, which is a different way you could play that out. But the story is phenomenal. The characters are wonderful. I really wish Ryan did have more character development. Well, same out of my favorite characters, Jacob's number one. It's the whole peanut butter pop dance. I loved it. The moment he started doing that, I was like, Jacob, I love you. You're my boo. You're my boo in this game. I will protect you with my life. And I did. I protected that man with his life. Okay? Like, I protected him. Ryan, unfortunately, is the weaker of the characters, so I have to put him at the bottom. Unfortunately, I really don't want to because I love all these characters, but if I had to choose, if I really had to choose, you know, I could just cop out like I did with Devil and Me and go, I pick nobody. So you know what, let's do that. I pick nobody as my worst character there. Now, unfortunately, there is no curator cut versus theatrical cut. It's all basically the same story, so that dives into the replayability, which again, I give it a solid 10 on replayability until you complete the trophies. And after that, it's just to see where you can get people killed at and stuff. So after you complete basically a platinum run of the game, it's like a 7 when it comes to replayability. But it's a solid 10 for your first go through, because again, you could do it at least 3 times and you can see how everybody dies and how there's multiple ways for certain characters to die. You can kill Jacob pretty early in the game, have him drown very basically, or get shot in the face by Ryan. And then you have like Emma, who could also die in stupid ways as well. But it still gives you an option to sit down and see in what ways can you kill certain characters you don't like. I know some people just don't like Jacob, and there's some painful ways you can kill him. Again, bear trap to the face. Remember that, guys. Bear trap to the face. He can die that way. Very painful. But, yeah, with the rest of the characters, though, they still get some pretty gnarly deaths and pretty good moments. And with the replayability, even still, there are certain things that you can do that will change the ending up. Like with the whole bunny thing, you have this choice whether or not to break into the cabin and get this bunny. And if you have this toy bunny, you can use it in chapter 10 to make a distraction for the werewolf you hide in the kitchen instead of get the silver bullets. And you could throw the bunny in there. And what was funny, the first time I played this, I picked it up and I was like, oh, it's cute. And it did that weird, like, broken box thing. And I was like, oh my god, that's disturbing. And I ended up keeping it anyway. I was just like, you know what, this thing's gonna bite me in the ass later on, isn't it? And as I'm playing through, I get to chapter 10. I'm high in the kitchen. I'm just like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna get my characters killed. Hey, is that stupid bunny I picked up back in chapter 2? Like, straight up. I loved it, though. I loved it because, again, it really goes back to the replayability factor. So, you know what? I actually I'll keep it a solid 10, even after you platinum. Let's just stick with a solid 10 because there are options, there are choices. Another big one is Dylan's hand being chopped off, or Ryan going out there to investigate. Because, again, if you don't check the cabin and you don't get the bunny, that means they need a distraction long enough for them to get into the cabin. So as Ryan, you go out there with the gun and you can shoot at Silas a couple of times. It's very action-packed, but you skip the whole chopping Dylan's hand off thing, which I don't mind because Dylan with both hands is very nice, very nice. I like that, Dylan with both hands. I feel bad if he doesn't get cured though, and he's still a werewolf, or he loses a hand. Even though he survives, I still feel bad that that he lost his hand. But Dylan, he's my second boo. I love Dylan. I'll take a bullet for him. Like him and Jacob. I wish I could grab both of them and just take off with them because they're so adorable. Especially Dylan. I love DJ's Dylan. Dylan's adorable. Oh, I love him. I really do. But that is why The Quarry is number 4 in my book. You know, it's a really good story overall. It's very nostalgic feel, very fun, very summer campy. I like to play it at the end of the summer because it fits the vibe. And again, I just love all the characters and I love reliving the story. And now it can get a little boring, especially with how long some of these chapters are and the fact that you can't skip chapters, so you have to play from beginning to end all the way through, and that podcast takes so long because you can't skip that. You cannot skip that. Like, there is no skipping option for that podcast, but it explains the ending of the story and how the counselors either got away with it or the Hacketts got away with it, and these bodies were found and this, that, the other. So it is necessary. It's just kind of aggravating. You can't skip it. Like, I just want to get to the end. I want to get past these credits. I want to get back to the menu so I can pick that chapter, so I can replay it, so I can get that one piece of evidence I freaking missed. So I'm looking back at that chapter where I had to choose whether or not to go back to the tarot cards or the evidence. And it was aggravating as hell. But let's move on to something that's a little less aggravating. And now we're getting into the top 3. Now, the reason why the Corey also got bumped down is because of the Until Dawn remake. Now, the fun fact is, where did I put the Until Dawn remake? Well, funny enough, it ain't number 3. Until Dawn is number 3 in my book. I love Until Dawn. I love it. Like, I'm talking about it. Not only is the first game of the bunch, and it still holds up pretty well. Graphic wise, it's an 8. There's still some kind of uncanny feelings about it because originally it was on the PS3, got ported over to the PS4. But there's some moments like the helicopter lantern that goes crazy at the asylum. Now, I'm sorry, I don't know if anybody else caught that when they play, or if it's just me, my version of the game. But yeah, no, Mike will be walking around with the lantern, and then at one point you gotta open the door and start helicopter going crazy. You know, just helicopter, you know, just going nuts. I don't know why, but it is one of my favorite games, hands down, because not only is it the first game of the series, but it is also Wendigos. Oh my god, Wendigos do not get as much praise as, let's say, like werewolves. Because werewolves, you know, they're pretty cool. We don't see many of them in the games. But Wendigos are spoken even less in game mythology. And I don't know why, because Wendigos are creepy as hell. I love Wendigos. Ever since I read about them in Stephen King's books, I've been fascinated with Wendigos and Skinwalkers ever since. And oh my god, this game is just beautiful. I platinumed this game within a day. I'm not even joking. The day before the remake came out, I platinumed this game. I was able to go through, platinum it, had a fantastic time going through this game. It is a ball. It's a hoot. It's just, oh my god. So again, let's dive on into this. So you got, of course, like I said with the graphics, this is 8. The trophies, pretty simple, very simple. Again, I want to say you could probably get them about 3 runs, just like the Quarry, where, you know, everyone lives, everyone dies, and you pick up all the extra stuff you didn't get, like evidence, clues, and totems and stuff like that. And yeah, I love how simple the trophies are. There's none of this choose the head options, choose the heart options. But again, this is their first game, so they didn't have too much to go off of. And there's nothing really special, unique, like say with Devil and Me with the tools and stuff. But again, with this game, it is the simplicity of it. It's the quick time events. The first time you're able to be in these characters' shoes and see what kind of craziness happens on this freaking isolated mountain. What brings me to the characters of story. So, you need a refresher for this one? Basically, a bunch of friends come back after 1 year that 2 of their friends disappeared after a horrible, horrible prank. And you get to play as Sam, Josh, Emily, Matt, Mike, Chris, and Ashley. And something I noticed in the original one that kind of bothered me, that's just why it's number 3 on the list and not a little bit higher, is because sometimes it doesn't really feel like they're friends. Like, they're just, it's one of the situations, they were friends because they went to the same school together. Like, yeah, we all have friends like that, or had friends, now that some of us graduate, where we were only friends with them in school. Like, we didn't hang out with them after school, we didn't invite them over to our house, we didn't play video games together, we would just happen to be in the same classroom multiple times a year. And we got along just fine. Like, we're not BFFs. We're not going to braid each other's hair and sing Kumbaya. But we're just there. And that's what it really felt like originally. Is that a lot of these people were just friends because they were friends with somebody else. Like, it's like, I feel like Mike and Chris, of course, were friends to begin with. Chris always liked Ashley. And she was probably friends with Sam. And probably just Sam. Sam was ended up being friends with Emily and oh god, what's her name? With Jessica. Which I forgot to make a mention about her. Well, how could I miss Jessica? Especially with how much times Mike is like, Jessica! Oh my god, I feel so stupid. I forgot. Let me even write that down. Jessica. There we go. But yeah. it just seems like they're all friends for no other reason besides one person is friends with another person. We all just happen to be in the same friend group kind of thing. Which I had a friend group like that where it's just like I knew a girl who was friends with like two other girls. I didn't really care for them, but they were there. And then other drama happened. Let's just leave it at that. Other drama happened. And a lot of us didn't really speak much after high school. Which I'm more than fine with. Because again, the nice girls, they're fine. We had our falling outs and stuff like that. But I never really saw us being friends after school and, you know, hanging out after college and shit like that. But the story is amazing though. Like, even though the characters really don't feel like too many friends, the story is amazing. You know, these friends come back after their friends disappear after this horrible prank they pulled, and now they're originally thought they were being picked off one by a psycho killer, but no, turns out he was just pranking them, bro. It was just a prank, bro. Just a prank. Or as M like to put it, just a prank, Han. Bitch. I'm gonna leave it at that. Because I'll explain more of that later. But the backdrop to the game is beautiful. The whole isolated cabin up in the mountains, and then of course you got the sanatorium that's also up there, and then of course the Wendigos themselves in their caves and everything like that is just gorgeous up there. And the story is beautiful. It's all about trying literally to survive one night on this mountain from originally what you thought was the psychopath, and it turns out it's the Wendigos you should be terrified of. But oh my god, I love them. I love them all. My least favorite character, of course, is M. I don't like her for multitudes of reasons. And my favorite character, funny enough, is actually Mike. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. It was a bit of a tie between Mike and Chris, 'cause I love them both, but Mike's whole, oh my god, we're totally gonna make out. That little moment, loved it. Fell in love with him ever since that moment. But, overall, when it comes to the characters and stories, they're really good, really well developed, the best they could for the first game ever brought in by Supermassive. And I definitely loved everything about this particular game in general. You know, the finding of the totems, you know, just seeing the possibilities of how everything could play out and stuff like that. But unfortunately, with this one, just like the Quarry, there is no curator cut or theatrical cut. So let's jump down to replayability. Now, the replayability is pretty high up there. Because not only do you have to initially play it 3 times to get everything, but you can see the multitude of ways you can kill everybody. Like, there are multitudes of ways you can get everybody killed. Of course, you know, you have the classic everyone dies in the explosion at the house, which that's always fun. Certain characters can get decapitated by wandering into places they shouldn't be wandering into. I'm looking at you, Ash. Just, help, Jessica, you know, help Ashley. Jessica, is that you? No, bitch. No, it's not you. Now, I will say, it is a bit of disappointment that some of the characters kind of get a little sideswiped. Like Ryan did in the Quarry, Jessica and Matt kind of get that treatment. But more Jessica than Matt, because at least Matt, at the time of the original Until Dawn, by the way, the original, unless you pre-ordered it, you didn't get that extra cutscene between him and Emily, and it really did help. I'm gonna be honest, it really did help, but we'll discuss that more when we get to the Until Dawn remake itself. But the replayability for this one, it's nice. You get to see a bunch of characters make other choices that you probably didn't normally make, like having Chris shoot Ashley first, like no hesitation, just call it a day. You can see that horrible moment where Ashley's just like, yeah, no, I'm gonna let you die, even though she was screaming, let me take the bullet first, let me die, you've already saved my life. Then she gets mad at him. Because he was just like, alright, like, why are you mad at him? You told him to shoot. I'm just saying, she told him to shoot. But you can see that moment, you either see Emily get shot by Mike, or my personal favorite, which I call Judgment Death, and that is have Hannah kill her. Now, the way I did this is during Emily's chapter where she's escaping the mines, felt all the quick time events and from the elevator on up, and Hannah will come out of nowhere, grab her by the head, stick her fingers in her eyes, and I'm just like, yes, justice! Because I'm gonna be honest, guys, with the original one, Emily looks pretty bad. I'm gonna be honest. Emily looks pretty bad, but Jessica looks a little bit worse because it looks like Jessica's the one that's instigating all of this. You know, no one messes with my girl, Em here. Okay, Hannah needs to learn not to touch Mike and da 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 da. But I still feel like M was the person who was pulling the strings, even though it was never conclusive in the original one. I still put a lot of blame on M, so I was very happy to watch her die there, and I felt like it was justice because, you know, if she wouldn't have orchestrated this whole prank, none of this would be happening. But yet here we are with the Wendigo crushing her skull. So I say definitely the replayability of this one is very high, especially if you just want to see how other characters can die. It is fun. There's very, very gruesome ways a lot of these characters could die. Also to make a mention, some of the choices in the game could also affect how certain characters live or die. Like case in point, as Matt. As Matt, you have the choice whether or not to give. Hang on. As Emily, you have the choice whether or not to give Matt the flare gun or not. And depending on whether or not he agreed to go to this fire tower with Emily, is whether or not he takes the flare gun and just randomly shoots it. Which screws everybody, by the way. Because if you decide to be the nice hero and save M's life, and you don't have that flare gun, oh, Matt's dead. No ifs, ands, or buts. You're not saving him. Matt's just, he's gone. He's negated out of this world. It's over. Game over, man. Like Bill Paxton. Game over. Game over, man. But you can see the choices, though, when you go back and replay it a couple of times. But we'll dive more into that once we go onto the Until Dawn remake itself, because there's a lot more I'd like to say about it. I'm basically holding off a lot of my feelings about it until we get to the Until Dawn remake, which, speaking of, it is not the next one. I swear, it's not the next one. The next one on our list is actually one of the newer ones that came out, and it is the casting of Frank Stone. I absolutely 100% love the casting of Frank Stone. Now, this could be my biasness because I played Dead by Daylight, so I got a lot of the reference and nods and stuff like that, but I love casting of Frank Stone. Like, that was beautiful. Just, oh my god. So, with the casting of Frank Stone, with the graphics and everything, I give it a solid 9 to 10. It looked great. It looked beautiful. I love the nods and reference. The places where we were at, such as the abandoned mill, which love the abandoned mill, being that it is from the Dead by Daylight games. And of course, you know, you got the garage, the creator shop, the pharmacy, and all this. It is really cool. It is really cool. It looks really nice. The models themselves look great. Now, there were some technical issues here or there with some of the glitches, like Jaime's face getting ripped off by Frank Stone. I mean, like, his whole face. Like, the only thing left was floating eyeballs. I kid you not, just floating little eyeballs. His whole face was gone, but we had floating little eyeballs. But, other than that, the graphics were really good. Everything looked fantastic. It was just a beautiful game. Now, the trophies. I say the trophies are about a medium to hard. Now, the reason why I say medium to hard is mainly because of one trophy. And what is this one trophy? It's the very last trophy you can get where you have to unlock all 224 branches of this damn game. Now, I'm a sucker for choose your own adventures, choose your own dialogue, just like with Man of Medan. But I felt like a lot of those choose your own moments didn't really need to happen. And that's something that really kind of brings it down. Is why it's not number one. Because because originally it was number one. And then I started sitting there and thinking about it like, well, there are these issues that I just can't ignore. And this is one of those issues. The trophy is very simple to get. I was able to platinum. Normally, it took me, I think, 3 days to platinum this particular trophy. Because I platinum Casting of Frank Stone. Till Dawn, the Quarry, I platinum those. The Dark Picture games, not so much. Mainly because I don't feel like replaying it to get, you got the trophy for movie share night. Oh, you got the trophy now for online gaming. You got the trophy for this one. All the hearts and all the heads. I didn't feel like doing all that just to get some of these trophies. And maybe one day I'll do it, but at the current moment, with my time crunch that I had at the time when I was doing a lot of these videos, I just didn't have time to do it. But with Casting of Frank Stone, I did have time. I literally spent a month playing that game straight. Mainly, it was just because of the 224 choices that you can make. And that's why I say it's a medium to hard, because, again, you do have to necessarily play it. I want to say, oh god, how many times did I replay? I replayed that one a lot because there's initially 7 different endings you can get. And that's not including like the secret endings you can get for some of the other characters. But the way I look at the endings is you have it where, okay, only Sam survives. Okay, only Linda survives. Okay, well now only Maddie survives. Okay, now all 3 of them together. Now only Linda and Maddie survive. Okay, Linda and Sam survive. Like, it's literally just endings like that only adds a little bit of extra dialogue here and there, but it all still plays out the same. All still plays out the same, except for the 2 secret endings, which is Sam just deuces out. Like, everybody's dead but him, so he's like, peace, guys, and, like, fades out of existence. And then you have, Chris. You have Chris, where she can go through the projector and wind up, basically back in time in front of everybody back from, like, chapter 3. It's really weird and bizarre, but I highly do suggest you check it out at some point. Because it's kind of an interesting ending to get, to be honest. Now, let's talk about story and characters. I thought the story was phenomenal, okay? Because especially if you're a big fan of Dead by Daylight, you kind of get the lore, what's going on. But basically, it's told in 3 different timelines. So you have the 50s timeline, the 80s timeline, and the modern timeline. Now, we only hang out a little bit with Sam in the beginning in the 50s timeline just to set up the opening and a couple of things you can do later on at the ending of the game, which is depending on whose character is going to live or die or not. And what I mean by that is, say you let Jaime the baby die in the beginning of the game, and then you're playing Linda near the end of chapter, I think, 13 or so, where it's just her and Robert in this one room with the killer, Frank. And Frank, if Jaime the baby is still alive, will just instantly kill Linda. But if you fail and let the baby die, well, for some reason, he'll hear the crying sound of the baby and let Linda go long enough for somebody to pick up the camera and finish the rest of the job. Let's see, some other things is whether or not you can get the bribe money back in chapter 3 because of his wounds on him. And probably Tom Holt was his name? The guy who basically was like security with him and his dog. And you hear a tape somewhere, and I want to say chapter 3 or 4, where you hear that if you aren't too harsh on him and he agrees to help you, he'll say, well, I sobered up because of Sam, and it disgusts me what they said in the newspapers. But if you play as kind of a dick to him, he ends up being a drunk, belligerent dude, and he's just chastising Sam's choices in life. But other than that, there's really not much of effects he does on the game, except for those few little moments then and there. but in the 80s timeline, you then play as Chris, Linda, Jaime, and then of course you have Jaime's sister show up. You can't play her, but she's there. She's there, and I love her. Oh my God, Bonnie. I love Bonnie. Bonnie is, she's beautiful. She's beautiful. I love her. And then in the wait, hang on, let me finish the 80s trans. I'm trying to kind of hurry this along because I see I've been babbling on for a little too long now. But in the 80s timeline, you and your friends are all filming a movie in the abandoned mill, and that's when Frank Stone attacks and appears and kills Bonnie and tries to kill everybody else, and Sam has to go in and rescue and save the day and all that shit. You know, typical shenanigans when it comes to that action hero star. Then the modern times, you play as Maddie and Linda, and Maddie is the daughter of Bonnie, which I know what you're thinking, but Amanda, you just said Bonnie died in the 80s timeline. Well, here's the plot twist, everybody. Both the modern, the 50s version, and the 80s versions, all different parallel universes. Where in the modern version, Bonnie lived to tell the tale. Probably Uncle Jaime was the one that ended up getting killed there. And, you know, she carried on with life until her mom died. And thus is why she shows up at Augustine's mansion. Which is the whole point of why Linda's there as well. Is because Augustine also hit her up and Stan up. Because they have pieces of the film that they were all filming back in the 1980s. So you're there trying to piece everything together, and that's when you realize everything's on a different timeline. The same green that we see in the modern time is not the same green we knew in the 80s or in the 50s. Like, none of these people are really connected, but they're connected at the same time. And it's such a fun, twisty little story. I absolutely love it. It's a phenomenal story, especially if you're a fan of Dead by Daylight like I am. You really love these moments, these characters, and it's a beautiful thing. It's really beautiful, well crafted too. Kind of confusing if you're not a fan of Dead by Daylight, but you can slowly piece everything together and have a good time figuring out the story. Now with the characters, these characters, all fantastic. You know, you got Sam, Maddie, Linda, Jaime, Chris, and of course our side characters, which would be Augustine and Stan and Robert. Now, Augustine, she plays creepy very well. We love her. Stan, he's a character I love to hate. Even though we don't get to play him, I love him because he's so stupid. Like, one of my favorite lines is when you have Chris in the timeline with you in the modern times, right? Like, she comes over from the 1980s to the modern time. And she's talking to Linda, and she's like, oh my God, Linda, you're so old. And Maddie's just like, what the hell's going on? And Linda's just like, I don't know. Then Stan walks in, and everyone goes quiet. And he's just like, hooray, Stan back, we miss you, we're glad you're okay. Like, I love that line because that would be something even I would do. Just like, hi guys, yeah, I'm alive, I'm okay, thanks for asking, peace, all that shit. Like, I love it, I love it. The characters are phenomenal though. The character development between all the characters are really nice. The one thing I didn't like was the forced love triangle yet again. You notice I don't like love triangles here. I really don't like love triangles. But I've noticed that they try to force a love triangle between Chris, Jaime, and Robert. And it's mainly more of a miscommunication with Robert, but it leads to like another scene you can do that's part of the that trophy I was telling y'all about, where it's basically you have oh God, Jaime confesses his feelings about Linda for no freaking reason. Like, out of nowhere, he's just like, maybe I am in love with Linda. No, the hell you ain't, Jaime. Why are we doing this? You love Chris. That's why we're here. That's how most of it plays out, is he usually picks Chris. But with certain dialogue choices and stuff like that, you can't have him say, hey, I pick Linda. Which, again, adds nothing to the story, because as soon as that happens, Chris gets sucked into the modern time era, and you have a choice whether or not to send her back. And if you happen to send her back and you choose the I confess my feelings towards Linda thing, what she'll do is punch you in the face. Okay, especially if you leave her to die, you don't have those firecrackers, she'll just punch you in the face, call it a day. But if you don't have those firecrackers, well, Jaime dies right there in chapter 5. I'm sorry, everybody. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. So you either leave her and get punched in the face later as you decide to bring Chris back, or you could die. Unless you got the firecrackers, and you only get the firecrackers if you chose to do the pharmacy first, then the curator shop. Which I find that a little weird, but, you know, it's a, 2020 vision over here. But the characters are phenomenal. The story's phenomenal. I absolutely love casting of Frank Stone. It was one of my favorites, not only because of the nods and references to Dead by Daylight, but the story itself is just fun. It's the timeline, the mismatched craziness, the whole, oh my god, it's Frank Stone line was just killer. Like, I love it. That's why it's number 2 on my list and not number 1. Also, what brings it down a little bit is the fact that one trophy is just a pain in the ass. Now, I'm not going to say anything about glitches and stuff like that, because all these games have a bit of some glitches themselves. Like, apparently, Casting of Frank Stone has it where some people are losing their save files. With the Dark Picture games, a lot of people aren't able to do their shared stories. Like, I've noticed this on Reddit. Some people are like, I can't play the game with my friend. We get, like, a certain point in the game, and the game just cuts out. And that seems to happen a lot. So this is why I didn't really put in glitches and bugs and shit like that, because they still all have their own little individual problems, and some of them should be fixed, especially for how long these games have been out, especially the shared story ones. But like with Casting of Frank Stone and Until Dawn's remake, because they're newer games, there's still some issues here and there. I think hopefully they fix the whole saving thing for Casting of Frank Stone. I don't know. I didn't run into that issue, but I did run into the issue where the last trophy was not popping, which was the all 224 cuts. I don't know why that whole trophy was bugged for like 3 weeks. And that's where I started sweating bullets, because people are like, I hit the continue game and it erased my entire game save file. And I'm like, nah. I spent over, 60 hours playing this game. I'm not about to lose all my work because I hit continue game. I literally just went to curator cut, or to the cutting room floor, and just picked chapters that way. I didn't do the continue thing. I didn't trust that with a 10-foot pole. Now let's move on to the last category for this, and that's replayability. And I would say there's a lot of replayability factors about this game. I give it a solid, a solid 9 when it comes to replayability. Because, again, you have all these other options, such as Linda getting caught by Frank Stone. You can literally skip a whole scene of information if you get caught by Frank Stone, let her get hooked, and you gotta do some quick time events to get away from him. Or she can escape, you learn a little bit more about Frank Stone, and then you meet up with the rest. And then you also got, whether Linda or not pulls the gun out or grabs the journal. She has the gun, she can shoot Augustine, which I love that, by the way. Hang on, let's talk about this. Boom! Nah, I got nothing to say, and then walks the hell off. Like, the extra scenes and stuff like that, that's the cool factor. But the ending's still almost always the same. Somebody winds up at the campfire, they're stuck in the trials, let the games begin, Frank Stone's the new killer. It's all the same stuff. But the added bonus of just all these extra scenes, the fact that you can select chapters and stuff, that's the nice factor. That's definitely a nice factor. But enough said about all the gushy, lovey stuff I love so much about the casting of Frank Stone. And let's move up to the last game on our list, which is number 1. And that is the Until Dawn remake. Now I can finally dive more into this like I want it. When I want a remake remastered, this is it. This is the game that's just hands down what I'm talking about. Like, I cannot stand those games like The Last of Us, where they're like, this is a remaster, and all you do is make it look pretty. Oh, great, you made it look pretty. No, I'm talking about, I want a Dead Space treatment. I want Resident Evil 4's treatment. That's exactly what Until Dawn did. It gave it that treatment. Is it still the same linear story that we got from the original one? Yes. But there's added moments that really make the development of these characters work. like again with Until Dawn, because we have a new opening where we get to know Hannah and Beth a little bit more. You can actually see the friendship and chemistry between everybody that was missing back in the original Until Dawn. Everyone actually looks like they're good friends and been chilling out with each other the entire time. It also makes Emily confirm that she's the biggest bitch of the whole game. She's the one instigating this whole plan. She's the one instigating this whole prank on Hannah. She is the biggest bitch of the room. And oh my god, I cannot wait to replay this game, because unfortunately I only got 6 hours in this one. With the original Till Dawn I got about 30 hours. In this one I only got 6 hours. But I only got to play it the one time on stream, and I absolutely loved every moment about that, because again, the opening alone with the recreation of how the opening was, it made certain characters feel more realistic. Like Mike, you can see on everybody's face as soon as the prank, it dawns on Hannah that this is a prank, you can see on everybody else's face that, okay, maybe this is a prank too far. Those smiles disappear and become these scary frowny faces. And of course, Mike's infamous, hey, Han, this went too far. You can actually hear it in this version now. Instead of being overtalked to by sound, you actually hear him have some remorse about the situation. And of course, Emily's still, it's just a prank, Han. Like, I'll show you a prank, bitch. Watch. But the opening is really great. And of course, the added deleted scene that they originally took away from everybody, unless you pre-ordered Until Dawn, they actually added it back for this particular moment, which adds more character moments between Matt and Emily's relationship, which I absolutely love that. I love the fact that, yeah, I may hate this character, but we're having a good time. We're all good and everything. But before we dive more into this, let's talk about graphics and looks. And I say solid 10. Solid 10. It's a beautiful, well-crafted game. It looks fantastic. It is beautiful. It like the lighting. Like, I like the lighting. I think the lighting, especially when you're outdoors, right before you go into the cabin and everything, looks phenomenal. Looks beautiful. Trophies, about the same. I'm going to say it's more of a medium hard choice, unlike the trophies for the original Till Dawn, which are very easy to get. There's a couple of trophies that are a little harder to get this time. Mainly it's because of Josh's new ending now, which they added that, plus an after credits scene with Sam, where now you can actually save Josh, and he's no longer forced to either die, become a Wendigo. He can actually survive and deal with the trauma, even though it doesn't really look like he's dealing with the trauma all that well. My problem with the game is I don't know how to get to that. Like, a lot of people are saying, well, you have to do this, you have to say this choice dialogue, but I can't seem to get that shit to prop up at all. No one really has a conclusive way of how to get that I'm sorry. Everyone keeps saying, well, he has to be remorseful. Okay, I get that. He's got to say I'm sorry. What choices do I need to make and or do to get that piece of dialogue? That's the problem. No one is telling me how to get this piece of dialogue. They're just saying, well, this is the piece of dialogue you need. Okay, so how do I get to it? All right, this is B. How do I get to A to B, though? Like, you're telling me B equals C, but how do I make A plus B? Like, what do I do here? And no one can actually answer that. Like, that's the thing that's aggravating me about this trophy. But you can do that. And of course, like I said, you have the new ending with Sound that is pretty cool. That's kind of a sequel bait almost, because she now wakes up. And it sounds like she's hearing Dr. Hill as well. And she wakes up with a weird marking on her arm that's bleeding. So, maybe sequel bait on Until Dawn 2 that we didn't know we all wanted. Now, the characters, much better in this one. They feel more realistic, more natural, more like friends and all this. The story's still basically the same, We do the prank on Hannah and Beth. They both fall off the cliff and die, which we still get a little bit more with them, with the action and stuff, leading up to them falling off the cliff, which I really did like that as well. And yeah, overall, they really made them feel more natural and more human, and I like that, especially like with the whole Chris chooses to shoot Ashley thing. It now feels more normal as she hesitates first, then goes to open the door, and she feels completely guilty about that at the end of that. Usually, back in the original one, she's just like, do I really want to, though? Oh no, you're dead. That sucks. And this one, she's like, what? Yeah, let me. Oh no, Chris, I was too late. Oh my God, Chris, like you feel it in her soul. Like she feels really, really bad about this whole situation. So everything's like 10 times better when it comes to character development when it comes to this remake. That is why it's number one. Like, again, I knew Until Dawn was going to be in my top 3, but it's just like, which one's going to be better, Until Dawn or the remake? And I'm going to be honest, the remake. I love the remake. I love everything they've done about the remake. They captured the elements of what made the original one great, and then just like duplicated it and intensified it to 100 degree. Like the quick time events are still really great, smooth. The characters really nice. Yeah, a lot of people are bummed out about elements of the game that were just never added on, which is more development with Matt and Jessica. And I can kind of get that, but again, with such a large cast, just like the Quarry, unfortunately, some people are going to get the shit in the stick. And with Jessica, she's got a bit of an excuse, because, she gets dragged off by the Wendigo and gets knocked out for like 7 hours. I'm surprised the bitch didn't die of hypothermia. But Matt, he still gets kind of the shit in the stick. He winds up in the mines if he doesn't die by the Wendigo. And, same choices and stuff with the whole flare gun and all that. But, they can survive pretty easily, which I do like that. But they gave you more trophies as well for killing certain characters in certain locations, which I do really like that as well. Which comes to the replayability. And I give this a solid 10. Because of all the new extra trophies they allow you to get, plus the new totems, plus the fact that they changed old totems around, it just really makes you want to replay this game and dive into it. I'm sure I could probably play it another 2 more times and get the run I want to get. Unfortunately, again, I just ran out of time. I didn't have time to sit down and play the Quarry and the Till Dawn's remake for my Halloween horror event that I did on the week I was gone on vacation for Halloween. But yeah, the replayability is definitely very high. I cannot wait to actually dive back into it. I'll probably pick it up back around Christmas. I'll probably do a Let's Make a Movie of The Quarry and of Until Dawn's remake, and I call it a day on that, because we're not getting a new Dark Pictures game until next year. And I don't know if Supermassive has anything else up their sleeve. But definitely for sure, Until Dawn remake deserves to be in the top spot. So as a little reminder, since, there's really not much else I can say about Until Dawn that I haven't said already, besides how beautiful, fantastic, and wonderful that game is. It's definitely a 10 out of 10 when it comes to a horror game, when the goes are on point, and the characters are phenomenal. Love each and every one of them, including the bitch Emily, even though I hate her and I kill her every time I can get the opportunity. I still like her because she's the perfect bitch, and with the new opening, it just shows you how much of a bitch and how much she played a hand in this entire situation, how it's all her freaking fault. Everything is her fault. I'm gonna be that person. Emily is the villain of the story. This is all her fault. She didn't get jealous of Hannah wanting her man and doing this prank. We wouldn't be in this situation. I also love the fact they didn't change much about the characters. They added to the characters, Like with Sam's opening, originally, it seemed like she was an unwilling participant in the whole prank originally, because of the fact that she's trying to find Hannah before the prank happens. With the remake, you can tell she's an unwilling participant, but she doesn't want to, stop it, because she really just thinks it's just a prank. And it's not until, we realize the prank wasn't funny. Even though I never thought this prank was funny to begin with. I always thought the prank was stupid and it was just a childish prank. Still though, it's a phenomenal game. It's phenomenal. It's beautiful. I love it. But as a little recap, because we've been yapping on way too much about this. So, number 1, Until Dawn's remake. Number 2, Casting of Frank Stone. Number 3, Until Dawn's original one. Number 4, The Quarry. Number 5, Man of Medan. Number 6, Little Hope. Number 7, The House of Ashes. And number 8, Devil in Me. Now, like I said, there's not a bad game in the Supermassive lineup. They're all good games. Some are just stronger than others. And the way I broke this down was my own criteria, my own little notes and stuff. Like you can see right here, I have my whole charts and everything about how I have everything lined up, because I couldn't choose which one was my favorite, which one was my least favorite, because originally it was Until Dawn, the original Until Dawn as number one, and Little Hope was at the bottom, or Man of Medan was at the bottom. But after replaying these games and going through my criterias and what what I thought each of these games deserved in number wise, I think I came up with a very conclusive ranking that I personally love and I agree with. And like I said at the beginning of all of this, guys, this is literally a personal ranking. If y'all have a different ranking, I'll be more than happy to hear about your options between the top 8 games of Supermassive. And I'm curious to see what y'all would say would be number 1 is. It could be Casting of Frank Stone. It could be Man of Medan. It could be Little Hope. It could be who knows what. And if you want, say it in the comment down below, because I'm just curious about everything. But enough chit-chat and everything. I think I basically got my point across about which ones I love. And like I said, there's not a bad game. There's just weaker titles than the other. But why don't we go ahead and end this here. I hope everybody has watched, is watching, will watch. I hope you enjoy. I hope everybody has a fantastic and a wonderful night. And guys, don't forget, if you love the podcast I do here on the channel, or any of the other fun, fantastic things I do, such as my Disney live streams, my horror games, my TCM videos, so on and so forth, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below, hit that notification bell, because you never know what's going to happen here. Trust me, I never know, especially when it comes to the podcast. This was just a random one, because originally I was debating on whether or not to do a ranking video of all my favorite Supermassive games, which I'm glad I kind of did this, or a review of Silent Hill 2, because Silent Hill 2 was a bomb diggity of a game, and I love it, but I don't think there's anything I could add to the review, the positive reviewing that everybody else has done, because I agree with a lot of the people that have said about the game. It's fantastic, it's wonderful, it's a beautiful game. Highly recommend that one as well. It's not a Supermassive game, but Silent Hill 2 is the bomb diggity. But give these games a shot. Try them all out. Supermassive, they're not as bad as a lot of people say. And like I said, there's not a bad game in the lineup. There's just weaker titles than the others. A lot of them are good, though. Definitely check them out, especially if you love Choose Your Own Adventures. Especially love Choose Your Own Adventure horror games, especially the horror game elements. I realized with the Dark Picture games, it's all about, you think it's supernatural, but in actual reality, it's something logical that could be explained. And with the Until Dawn, Casting of Frank Stone, The Quarry, it's all, you think it's something logical, but it's actually supernatural. So you have your choices of whether you want realistic horror or supernatural horror. Supermassive just has all the games. And again, you have 8 games to choose from. So I'm sure out of one of these 8 games, you'll find something you love about one of them. But that's a story for another day. So until then, my friends, y'all take care. And hopefully I'll see y'all for number 58, which I'm still trying to figure that out. But we'll see what it is sometime this month.